You good, sir?
I will.
Very good. Ms. Stevens, you good? Mr. Benford, can you make us live? You're good. We're good. Okay. Legal, are you on? All right.
Yes, sir.
All right. So the time is 7 p.m. and I call this regularly scheduled meeting of the Red Oak City Council to order. The time is 7 p.m. Let it be known that we do have a quorum. We have all council members present in the chambers, and that notice has been duly posted in accordance to Texas Government Code Section 551. We're still under allowance by the governor to have video call-ins, and that will continue for the near future. Councilman Franklin, would you do us the honor, please?
Yes, sir. So we pray, Heavenly Father, Maria, once again, Father God, we thank you for, first and foremost, being God. We thank you for our life, our health, and our strength. Father, we thank you for an opportunity to participate in an open meeting, Father. We thank you for this opportunity to have an opinion, God. We thank you for our freedom. We thank you for those who fight for our freedom so we may have this opportunity. Father, we ask that you look down on our city as we conduct the business of our city. Give us as leaders an open ear, open hearts to hear and do what's best for our city. I say a special prayer for our frontliners, our first responders. Protect them, God. Protect their families, for they're protecting our city. For this is our prayer that we pray in the name of Christ. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Councilman Franklin. So, we got several proclamations today, and we don't have, one of them, and I'm going to go ahead and read it, is that September 17th through the 23rd is Constitution Week, and this celebrates the 235th anniversary of the drafting of the Constitution. I don't think, Sandra, are you online? So, it goes back to the freedom that we're afforded in our great country, and this is just a fabulous time, and we just want to make sure that we proclaim the week of September 17th through the 23rd as Constitution Week, and urge all citizens to study the Constitution and reflect on the privileges of being an American with all the rights and responsibilities which that provides. So, okay. Yep. Now. And Mr. Bedford, you get to come up. How exciting.
I bet he covered it.
Yeah, he did. So this is National IT Professionals Day. Unfortunately, so many of us are reliant on technology. And we're glad that y'all have chosen this profession to be able to keep us moving forward. And it is valuable, the numbers of things that we're able to do. And and we're going to proclaim that September 20th is National Kids Professionals Day. The city of Red Oak is witness thereof. And we thank you both for keeping us rolling the right way. So, congratulations.
Yeah, we did, so they're not here.
Yeah, that's right. Miss Amanda. And Miss Baker. So, maybe a little bit in front of the IT people are the human resources. Without their dedication and providing the best people that they can for our city would not be able to function the way it is. All the stuff that they do in the background, for the betterment, the protocols, helps all the employees, helps the cities, and we just would not be anything like where we are without y'all's help. And we are greatly appreciated, and I do proclaim that September 26th as Human Resources Professional Day. So, congratulations. There we go, Monty Vice. I can't even say my last. Lastly, but not least, Chief Planner. So, the past couple of years, Chief has kind of kept our city safe, with our city workers and the guidance that he had done through the FEMA, or the Emergency Management Agency, and 2022 National Preparedness Month, a theme of a lasting legacy, prepared for disasters to create a lasting legacy for you and your family. The City Management Division, which Chief is in charge of, partners with federal, state, local, private, and volunteer agencies to educate individuals on local hazards and how to prevent them. And I encourage, and I think Chief would also encourage all residents of the city of Red Oak to plan ahead for disasters and encourage their families and friends to do so also. So, September, this month, is National Preparedness Month. So, thank you very much, Chief. Okay. So, now's the time in our meeting for citizens' comments, and we do have one that's submitted. Mr. Woodward, if you want to come on up and give us your address and tell us what you want to talk to us about. So, in case you don't know, he's our executive director, lead person for our chamber, who does a fabulous job. So, good.
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, my name is Clint Woodward. I'm the president and CEO of the Red Oak Area Chamber of Commerce. My address officially is Glen Heights address, 2233 Cinnamon Springs in Glen Heights. I have been with the Chamber of Commerce for 3.5 years now, and over this time, we've been striving to make changes to build a stronger future for our chamber and for our community as well. This year, looking at the national and local trends, we are pivoting again this coming year to stay relevant with the industry and with our own community. Some of the ways that we are doing this is enhancing our membership structure simplify levels, and provide more inclusion, creating educational opportunities for our businesses, creating a partnership with the Navarro Small Business Development Council, who I met with earlier today. This year, we are also entering our second year of Leadership Ellis County, which is a partnership between the Waxahachie, Ennis, and Maypearl chambers as well. We are in the process of joining the U.S. Chamber of Commerce that will gain more resources for our businesses here locally. We have talked about it at length, and we'll be bringing back our North Ellis County market in March. We are also in the process of creating a separate 501c3 foundation to help support our educational programs as well as our scholarship programs, which have totaled over $40,000 in my tenure since I've been with the Chamber. Above all, one of our biggest goals for this year is engaging with the city more than we have in years past, as well as bringing back an open dialogue and a partnership. In July, we met with city leadership and we identified areas that we need to improve upon, both in communication and collaboration, to improve the city and Chamber's relationship that was frayed over the previous president's tenure. We hope that the previously mentioned initiatives, as well as my increased presence at these meetings in different areas around town, show our willingness to rebuild this partnership. While this year we are unable to realize an increase in our funding agreement, we are thankful for the support that the city gives to the Chamber of Commerce and hope that our actions over the coming months and this year will show the value of the Chamber and what we provide to the community, as well as supporting commerce in this great area. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, very much. So, in case some of the citizens don't know, as we move into our new digs, starting in March, I guess that's the, I'm sorry. March at the earliest, maybe a little bit later, but then the chamber will have a office that's over there in our city complex. So, as well as the tax office and Federal Education Foundation and their city or their community outreach. With ISD, they have space there. Okay. Today is, or right now, is consent agenda. Consent agendas are items that are considered routine in nature and may be acted upon in one motion. We actually have quite a few. We have 15 items that are in our consent agenda. These may be past minutes, items that we've been briefed on before, resolutions that are ongoing throughout the city to our EDTJ. Things to do with our economic development corporation, excuse me, and our industrial development corporation. And orders so like we can continue to use and receive grant monies if those are available. Has everybody had a chance to read those 1 through 15? Yes, sir. Okay.
Mayor,
I do think. Yes,
Mayor,
sir.
I added some instruction with regard to item 13 whenever you're appropriate before you take a motion.
Okay. Okay. Go ahead and share that with us.
Okay, item number 13 on your agenda is a matter involving adoption of a resolution to approve a replat of property that the city owns on Methodist. By way of background, replatting of property is compliance with our local subdivision ordinance. One, to ensure that the zoning is appropriate for the platting of the property, and two, that the platting or the replatting in this case of the property complies with our subdivision ordinance. Under the ordinance that has been adopted by the city of Red Oak, the city council has delegated that responsibility to the Planning and Zoning Commission. When acting in such capacity to either approve or disapprove a plat, the Planning and Zoning Commission in this case acts what lawyers refer to as a ministerial action. The job of the Planning and Zoning Commission in this instance is to ensure that the zoning on the property is appropriate under our zoning ordinance or complies with the zoning on the property. And two, that all of the elements that are necessary for the subdivision of the property to take place have been accounted for, such as adjacency to city streets, the size of the lots, the entry onto the public streets, providing of any dedication to the public, in this case, the city, to comply with the subdivision ordinance to make sure the property is subdivided correctly and is developable. And the Planning and Zoning Commission acts on a plat. They act in a quasi-administrative capacity. And their job is to ensure that the zoning is appropriate under the zoning ordinance, and two, that it meets all of the requirements of what in effect is a civil engineering document. And so they act in a ministerial duty. The court case of Cinemart versus Bartlett has indicated to us, and it's been a law for some time in Texas and even prior to that, that if the subdivision of the property meets all of the technical requirements of the subdivision ordinance, and that the use that's proposed in that subdivision complies with the zoning that's currently on the property, then the Planning and Zoning Commission act in a quasi-administrative capacity, and if it does comply with all the requirements, it becomes a ministerial function of the Planning and Zoning Commission to approve the plat, which is all to say is that the plat in effect cannot be denied if it meets all of those requirements of our ordinance and complies with the notice requirements, et cetera, under our zoning ordinance. What occurred in this case is that the property in question is actually property owned by the city on Methodist Street, in which you had been previously briefed on was going to be subdivided into 3 lots so that it may be disposed of, since the city didn't have any public purpose for the property, and the property would be offered for sale. And in compliance with that, the staff was asked to, in effect, replat the property into 3 lots. It's my understanding after reviewing the file in this matter that the proposed replat met all the requirements of the zoning ordinance, met all the requirements of the subdivision ordinance, and there created a ministerial duty by Planning and Zoning Commission to approve it. What occurred at the last Planning and Zoning Committee meeting when this was brought forward, there was a motion made to deny, there was a motion made to approve, neither one was seconded, and no action was taken. Therefore, what I would recommend to you is if this would have been a private developer, we would have been in violation of Cinemart versus Bartlett, which could create liability for the individual P&Z members as well as for the city. In that particular case, the city of Dallas refused to approve a plat that met all the statutory or the ordinance requirements of the city of Dallas, was in compliance with the zoning ordinance, and the council in that case, who had final approval of the plat, refused to approve the plat. Cinemart sued Dallas, and as a result of that, the court held that there was a ministerial function. They didn't have a reason to deny it, and in that case, the city council was acting in a quasi-administrative matter and had a ministerial duty to approve it. So that same law would apply to us, that same case law. And so what we've done is brought this forward to you for your consideration. And I believe that Mr. Hartman, who's our city engineer would indicate to you that it meets all the requirements. It's in compliance with the zoning ordinance. And so we didn't want to treat ourselves any differently than we would treat a private citizen that had a plat or replat. And so I would ask you to approve this on your consent agenda as a ministerial function of the city. And I'd be happy to answer any additional questions as to agenda item 13.
Thank you, Mr. Hager.
Mr. Mayor, just point of order, so we go ahead, 413. What's that record, or is that sufficient?
We need to.
You don't have to, I mean, you can, obviously.
Mr. President, the act, any questions? I don't know.
Yeah, if you're gonna have questions and so forth, you might wanna go ahead and pull it.
Oh,
Don't pull it?
I'll put it.
Okay.
Pull 5 and 12 already.
Okay, so we will look at our consent agenda, item 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 14, and 15. Everybody okay with those?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion to approve those.
So moved.
Councilman Goodwin,
Second.
Councilman Franklin. Those in favor?
Franklin, aye.
Aye.
Drake, aye.
Lightfoot, aye.
Smith, aye. Okay, so now we'll go back to item 5. This is consideration and possible action regarding approving the proposed Red Oak Economic Development Corporation Administrative Service Agreement with the City of Red Oak to provide administrative services for fiscal year 2022 through 2023. Council, this is a item that we have done in various years, previous years. It helps divided between administrative costs and salary.
Facility costs.
And facility costs to market and or find and acquire land or businesses or the like.
Everybody question.
Oh, okay, what's your question? I'm sorry.
How much you charge an IDC on this one?
This is EDC.
Is
so
this
there's-
EDC?
Yes,
It is.
Oh, what is IDC?
the one we already approved.
Well, how much you charge an EDC?
Whatever y'all approved at IDC.
Unfortunately, I don't have that dollar amount.
150,
You know, like $200,000. Okay, I'm sorry, it's $116,250.
Right.
No, I'm serious. Yes.
Okay.
IDC is, $106,790.
Thank you.
But the EDC, the question to the EDC, if I'm reading it right, is $116,250. That's divided in 12 payments. Good?
Go.
All right. I'll entertain a motion to approve item 5.
So moved.
That was Goodwin and Drake. Together, those in favor?
Franklin, aye.
Aye.
Drake, aye.
Lightfoot, aye.
Smith, aye. That passes 5-0. Councilman Goodwin, I don't know which one your IDC is. Oh, it's the one before. It's 4, so it's probably the same.
It's 106.
106. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, sorry about that. Item 12. Do you want that one out, sir?
Yes, sir.
Okay, do you have questions about that?
Yeah, I've been a proponent of providing money to the, Chamber of Commerce ever since I was president of it many, many years ago. Waxahachie does a heck of a job for that, and, of course, they've got it a lot bigger, but what are we gonna get for this $8,000? That's a question I've got.
So we actually have redone the agreement this year. So if you look in your packet, we can go over real quick. We can go over the highlights real quick.
Yeah.
But, the basic is, basically, we're getting the same benefits as what a platinum type sponsor would get throughout the year. So, we're gonna be able to, participate in their monthly luncheons, have a table at the gala. We're gonna be, recognized as a partner on their large-scale events, especially when they use city resources. We'll have booth space at Business Expo and Founders Day. Obviously inclusion in things like the chamber directory, event programs, the enhanced business profile on their website, special event posting on their website, and inclusions in their e-blast. So marketing and participation type package.
Originally, this was supposed to be provided for helping educate businesses here, small businesses. And I don't see anything, relating to that, this $8,000.
So, Councilman, just with what, Mr. Woodward had talked about, how he has engaged the, different chambers, both small business administration from the local community college, or maybe the community is bigger than that. The U.S. Chamber of Commerce, the Dallas.
Yes, in fact, today I just had a meeting with North Texas Chamber.
North Texas. And they continue to have their monthly meetings where they're bringing in speakers. We sat down as city administrators, myself, had a meeting. They do the job fair thing, what is that?
What is that? Business Expo.
The Business Expo.
So specifically in answer to your question, under section 2.3, among other things included is educational events and a business expo. And every year they've, until COVID hit, they had that business expo, as well as educational events.
Founders Day.
Yeah, I think what we're looking for, though, is educational events that are not just bringing somebody into a chamber luncheon. I think what we're looking for is educational events where they're bringing in somebody like the SBDC or someone to come in and provide training and so forth to the chamber members.
Perhaps we're not giving them enough, I don't know, whether, but that's what the original reason for giving them money was so that they could help our small business.
Yep.
And I don't hear from manager out here anything like that.
So,
I echo those sentiments. I would like to know what, not to walk on your question,
No, that's what
but what is like a good range of dollar amount for a small city?
well,
Like us?
some of our local, the ones around us get like $50,000. What does Midlothian receive?
20,000, yes.
Yeah, so, but I think Waxahachie got 50. They're kind of working, all these are kind of in fluid and transition. We had come to an administrative agreement to leave it at that dollar amount because we're trying to get them into that building. We couldn't justify increasing that because we're providing a rental space. Is that?
Well, actually, we're providing a lot more than just that. So, in addition to what we listed here, we don't charge for rentals of this room. We're gonna, not charge them a monthly rent at the new center. They're just gonna help with some overhead costs, and then we also worked out a payment arrangement to pay for the construction costs with them. That'll be hopefully coming to you next meeting, to consider for approval. We discussed that, and they actually told us in the meeting that we had that they weren't reliant on our contribution for their operation, so that they were good with the $8,000.
Whatever, we're trying to educate some of our small businesses and help them, and I don't see much.
So, part of the other thing, we came to a meeting with them, and we said, Lee, how many small businesses in Texas, are in Red Oak? What was the number you shared with me? Not to put you on the spot, but.
No, I was just trying to remember the number, I was just checking that the other day, look, there's north of 250 to 300.
Yeah, and so part of our request was that, especially during this time of COVID and uncertainty, you know, that, for them to be reaching out to them to make sure that as a city, we can help support them and encourage them to continue to go. We'll come back to the baseball. We reached out, we asked that they reach out to the local restaurants and encourage gift cards or whatever. So hopefully those patrons that are playing those games would be eating in our locale. And, so anyway, that's part of that partnership. It keeps us from having to have a staff person be working on that, and, you know, that's something that he's working on and developing and getting it done.
Well, my concern is that say something like China, you know, I don't get it, but most people today are into social media, and I'm wondering how many of our small businessmen know how to reach that market, and that would be a great thing, I think, to have a session on,
Sure.
so to speak, and, or maybe have a 2 or 3 day deal on advertising, or how they can increase their business.
Well,
I would think that would be the major reason that we would be. I can understand, you know, providing them an office and all that. That's needed, and it's very important for them. But I just think like with the ESTC, we were underfunding that thing a lot, and I think we ought to look at this, you know, and see if we can, not tonight, but I mean, that's something I would encourage the city manager and the mayor to, you know, and the chamber, try to look at it, see if we can do more for them. And I'm concerned about small business, and I'm not concerned about the rest of it.
So they've got a pretty good footprint in the new building. They've got basically what is like 2 classrooms combined. And so I know that a large part of what they're going to be using that space for, they have a large conference training room in there. And so I know that they're going to be working on programming for small businesses and resources for the business community, that they're going to finally have the space to do that in, and provide this training.
So, and as you know, they've been bounced from locale to locale and haven't had anything good. There's been some turnover in leadership.
There, I know that.
Yeah, so.
I think this would help them and help the small business and make us more important to the small business in the city.
So going back to Councilman Franklin's question about how does it compare? So Waxahachie, as the mayor said, was 50,000. Ennis is 6,000. Midlothian is 20,000, but it's all tied directly to the Heritage Day program. DeSoto is 50,000. Cedar Hill is 10,000. But they did at one point do a larger loan to the EDC, and they may be in the process of forgiving that for some space, you know, similar to what we're doing. So they did a loan for space, and they do the 10,000 a year at Cedar Hill.
Okay, I just kind of echo Councilman Bill's comments. I hope that we're working in partnership with the chamber. I try to attend all their grand openings with the bids they bring in, and I really do see the benefit of having the city included in that they bring some very unique businesses that we don't get here in Red Oak. So I just echo Councilman Goodson.
So, and I will make note, if you have looked over your shoulder, the past 4 meetings, Clint has been here.
Oh, yeah.
And, that's not something that we'd seen in the past.
Yeah.
Our three meetings, and that was specifically, a agreement, partnership to say, be more visible.
So I was gonna say something similar, Mr. Mayor. I think that in the past, we've given money to the chamber and not always known what we were gonna get out of it. And I think one of the things that we talked about during budget this time was that they were pushing a little harder for the written agreement, making sure it was a little more airtight with the intention of exactly what you're asking for, is saying, you know, what are we getting out of this, where are we going with it? I think keeping the amount the same was kind of the token, let's do that this year, but we gotta have better next year. And so I would give direction to staff that we should continue on with that. I mean, we should not, it's a two-way sword with the chamber. We want them to like us and promote us and do all that, but we also want to give them the resources to, you know, help their members. So I think it is one of those things where it's a relationship that's important. It'll take a little time probably, but I agree with you. We should know what they're offering to their constituents, even though it sounds like this time around we kind of signed up as a member, so we're one of their members this time to get the funding out there. But I think in the future we should have a little more push when we're giving money with that what programs that money's funded.
So,
And it's probably not enough, $8,000.
so I think it's better now, it's in black and white, so we know exactly what's expected, both ways. Some of that information was not transmitted, to their current director, and, not in fault to him, but he just didn't know. And then when we brought it up, you know, he was apologetic for not knowing that, you know? And so, some of that's some grace right now, and we're working through it.
We could probably increase a little bit from EDC, you know.
All right.
Or IDC.
Well, we just passed the funding, unfortunately.
IDC actually has more room than.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right. Now, that was, 12. So, I'll entertain a motion to approve item 12.
So moved.
Okay, Councilman Franklin,
Second.
Lightfoot, those in favor?
Franklin, aye.
Aye.
Burke, aye.
Lightfoot, aye.
Smith, aye.
Okay, that's 5-0. Okay, so now we pulled 13. According to, Mr. Hager had explained to y'all, in the best that I understood, this is a ministerial duty, not a minstrel duty. It's a ministerial duty. So we have to, and potentially we're liable if we don't approve this. Not only can the P and Z council members be, taken to court, we could be taken to court if this was outside the city. Yeah, a private person.
Yeah.
So, if we don't pass this, this could set some precedents too. So think about this, ask the questions, ask the questions. If you have none, then, you know,
We were
I won't.
originally gonna, put a basketball court on there, but we found out that there was no parking, and the basketball court parking would cost us at least $250,000. We thought that, you know, by selling the thing, maybe getting a couple $100,000 out of it, then we'd do about a $450,000 flip. And, I'm ready to sell the thing or put it on the market.
So you can't take clips and stay the check, windows day, that's illegal. But my question was, to make sure I understood correctly, due to all the legal legalities behind the property, we on the right path for approval. Ultimately, that was my question.
Yes.
Okay, that was my question.
Yes.
I have no issue with the 7% or the action to take, but I feel like I should probably take a moment to say the reason that it's coming back to council is because we could not satisfy P and Z's just concerning with the way this is going, so they didn't approve it. Like we talked about, like Bob had said, if it's been a private person, if they didn't approve it, and it came to council and we didn't approve it, there'd be liability there. So the fact is, it meets all of the ordinances and requirements after council gave direction that this is the way to go. But since P and Z basically took a stand saying that they weren't going to vote on this option, I think we should approve it because it's required and it meets all the requirements, but I do think we owe P and Z maybe another discussion on this topic. If only to restate exactly what Councilman Goodman stated on our reasons for why we went this path. It sounds like maybe they either didn't get that information or didn't accept that was the best way to go. I don't want P and Z to feel like we aren't following their recommendations or we aren't giving them their due for the expertise we asked of them. But, you know, it probably is worth discussing if we haven't already, or if we haven't in a P and Z meeting, what not approving these type of items opens us up to from a liability standpoint. But I do think it's important that our boards understand what we're doing and why we're doing it and what we're asking. So, just a comment I'll make that I wasn't going to make until we pulled this off, by the way, so glad we did it.
Is this, are we approving the plat, or are we just approving the change of the zoning? No, is this actually?
The zoning was approved last meeting, so this would be basically waiving the requirement for the P and Z to approve the plat. So that allows, basically, when you approve this, the plat is approved.
I think that the reason they didn't approve it because they wanted it to be a park.
I understood that to be the case. Well, they didn't like the use that we had agreed to do with that. I understand that. I just think it administratively, like we talked about, I mean, they have a part in that process, and it might have already been past that point by the time they got to this vote. So we may have owed them a little bit more information before we put this in front of them again, knowing that they didn't like it.
So they don't necessarily have to go back, and if we approve it, they don't have to.
No, right.
It's not necessarily they have to go back and revisit.
It'd be a courtesy,
That's right.
because the council can and will, it sounds like, approve this today, but they didn't agree to it, and we put them in a position of basically not taking action on something in front of them because they didn't like it. So I'm just cautioning that we should spend a little extra time in those situations, get consensus where we can. May not always happen, but.
I don't think it was the park idea, it was more the design of it, but the two houses across from each other, from what I understand to be.
I think it was a combination.
It's two houses, I guess that'd be north and south end, where several of them had issues with, from what I understand. Small lots and small designs and.
So not necessarily small, it's
So,
And then access for the fire department and all that stuff.
so the zoning that was in place prior to the PD would have allowed the lot size. The difference, the reason the PD was done was basically so that lot 3 in the rear basically had ownership out to the road.
Right.
You could still have done it.
Driveway or.
Right, you could still have done it and done it with an access easement coming through lots 1 and 2, and then it would have met all of the zoning requirements and a PD would not have been needed. But this way gives them that access ownership to the frontage of the road. And it also requires that there be only one driveway for all 3 properties. So you could have put 2 in there also, and then you could have had, 2 driveways out on the Methodist. This way you've got one driveway, and that's basically, what Mr. Hartman looked at, was trying to maximize the benefit of the property while still minimizing traffic impact and so forth.
As I recall, I think we got the input of the fire chief as well, and he actually, if I can remember, he said they don't have any problem with it as well, so it's clear for them. That satisfies me on this because there's no issues as far as they're getting in trouble with apparatus getting in, and now there's no issue.
Yeah, I mean, this is common development and development where.
And this is after the new Methodist Road reconstruction? You already allowing for that in the drawing?
Yes.
Good, council? Okay. Okay, entertain a motion to adopt that resolution.
So moved.
All right, we'll do Drake first, and Goodwin second. Those in favor?
Oh, I'm sorry, a little unwritten. Councilman Latham, were you saying we should organize a meeting regarding this and discuss? I just want to make sure I'm clear.
Not as a part of the, not as a contingent
Okay,
approving or
okay.
anything like that, just as a courtesy to
Okay.
our board, who obviously didn't think that we made the right decision with the
Okay,
board.
okay, make sure. Okay, Frank and I.
Aye.
Drake, aye. Lightfoot, aye. Smith, aye.
All right, that passes 5-0. Okay, that's the end of consent agenda. Regular business, item 16, consider adoption of resolution number 22-085R, City of Red Oak, Texas, designating an official and alternate newspaper for the City of Red Oak, Texas, and providing an effective date. And council, in front of you, okay, there should be a informational sheet from the Daily Light. And then,
Yeah, sure.
Dallas Morning.
yeah, so, and our alternate would be the Dallas Morning News.
Look at this every year, it's just a year. Okay.
So, some of the price is reduced, from what we were paying previous year. The rate comparison, we had the Ellis County Press, we had the Waxahachie Daily Light, we had the Waxahachie Sun, and we had the Dallas Morning News. I think the recommendation is to approve the Waxahachie Daily Light as the official newspaper and the Dallas Morning News as the alternate. Council, do you have any questions? Okay, I'll entertain a motion to approve resolution 22-085R.
So moved.
Councilman Lightfoot, Councilman Smith. Those in favor?
Franklin, aye.
Drake, aye. Lightfoot, aye.
Smith, aye.
5-0. Item 17, consider adoption of resolution number 22-086R, the City Council of the City of Red Oak, Texas, accepting a voluntary annexation petition and authorizing the setting of a date and time and place for one public hearing on the contemplated annexation described in Exhibit A and depicted in Exhibit B attached hereto and made a part hereof for all purposes annexation area by the City of Red Oak, Texas, authorizing and directing the city staff to publish notice on such hearing with the institution of the annexation proceedings and adoption of the annexation ordinance to occur at a regular city council session and to prepare a service plan for the annexation area, said annexation area being more particularly described in Exhibit A and depicted in the Exhibit B, and providing an effective date. Mr. Hartman?
This property is located off of Stevenson Road on the very edge of the city limits, kind of borders Red Oak Creek, where Little Creek comes in, the tributary here. Here's Stevenson Road. 110 acres roughly, right in this area. So this is on our master thoroughfare plan. It's got Ewell coming up and connecting to Stevenson here, so when the developer comes to develop, we'll take that into consideration. There's also some sewer improvements that we'll have them take into consideration. We should be meeting with them next week to discuss development options, and but for now they are starting the annexation process so that they annex the city, get zoning, and develop.
You locate me on that again.
Yep. So 35, where we are at City Hall, Little Creek tributary, and then big Red Oak Creek, and they're right on the other side of that. Here, we got the Oaks Church, the Oaks Development, and then Stevenson Road here.
How far?
It kind of follows this, patch of green line where this, there's another tributary that runs through here, comes down to roughly about right here, and comes up like that along the creek.
Can you put the exhibit on?
How far does Yule go down already?
Yule stops at,
Yule basically turns into Red Oak Road.
That's okay, and so it would come down further south?
yeah,
About this somewhere?
yeah, so in the thoroughfare plan, we don't have a full, design yet,
Right.
but we just make allowances for it. So if they develop, we'll have Yule run up here to the edge of their property, and then in the future, if this is able to develop, or we get a capital program where we can come connect that, we'll connect it somewhere through here. But for their development, develop soon, they would just account for Yule Road. Development.
Right.
What we need to do today, is set the public hearing.
Yeah, so today is just adoption of the resolution.
Yeah.
Set the dates.
October 11th, our regular.
Well,
It's pushed back the holiday,
right.
Okay.
so it's Tuesday the 12th.
So October 11th, what's in the,
It's Tuesday, the 11th.
Tuesday the 11th.
that's the due date, right?
Yeah, it would be October 10th.
Got it,
The
okay.
new date's October 11th.
That's all right.
Okay. Entertain a motion to approve resolution number 22-0886R.
So moved.
Councilman Drake,
Second.
Councilman Lightfoot. Those in favor?
Franklin, aye.
Aye.
Drake, aye.
Lightfoot, aye.
Smith, aye.
That's 5-0. Item 18, consider adoption of resolution number 22-087R, the City of Red Oak, Texas, approving the terms and conditions of the grant agreement by and between the City of Red Oak Industrial Development Corporation and the Texas State Technical College Foundation for the funding of a grant for the Red Oak Workforce Development Training and an expenditure in the amount not to exceed $500 million. I'm sorry, $30,000, which is attached here to and incorporated herein as Exhibit A. Ben, you want to give that money?
Yep.
All right. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Any questions for this? Any more background for y'all?
I would say that historically for the last, 3 or 4 years or something, IDC had, done a $15,000 grant, and they upped it this year to the $30,000. So this one is an increase.
Wait, Rusty, what's his name?
Rusty Hicks.
Huh?
Hicks.
He passed away today. That's cancer, really fast.
Yeah, the foundation chairman here locally.
All right.
Their interface,
All right, so this is something that IDC had talked about in their own meeting, and so we're kind of adopting that resolution. Entertain that motion, please. Okay.
Second.
Councilman Franklin, Councilman Smith, those in favor?
Franklin, aye.
Aye.
Drake, aye.
Lightfoot, aye.
Smith, aye.
That passes 5-0. Item 19, conduct a public hearing and consider approval of ordinance number 22-036 of the City of Red Oak, Texas, amending the comprehensive zoning ordinance and map of the City of Red Oak, Texas, as heretofore amended by granting a change in zoning from Plan Development 29, PD 29, to Plan Development 29, revised PD 29R, to allow uses on site and allow the existing and future parking site on Lot 2R, Block B of the Red Oak Business Park number 1, located on the south corner of Main Street and the railroad tracks, as also known as 205 South Main Street, City of Red Oak, Ellis County, Texas, as provided by Exhibit A attached here to and incorporated herein, providing for planned development standards, parking spaces by use category, and use summary attached hereto as Exhibits B through D, which are attached hereto and incorporated herein, providing a repealing clause, providing the severability clause, providing the savings clause, providing a penalty of fine not to exceed the sum of $2,000 for each offense, and providing an effective date requested by Stephen Zimmerman. Dr. Emma.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. This is a request to amend the allowed uses and allow the existing and future parking as shown in PD 29 to serve as the required parking for the site. In order to revitalize the shopping center so that it has truly retail activities, the allowed use list has been amended to remove heavier commercial uses and community uses which require excessive parking. The owners have a prospective restaurant as a tenant which has over 50 locations nationwide, but there is not enough calculated parking on site. The owner has issued a notice to vacate for one of the churches so that it has 50 parking spaces freed up. In an effort to assist with the parking situation, staff has created a parking matrix that has less restrictive parking requirements than the city. The updated parking ratios are based on comparisons with adjacent cities. With the parking matrix applied, the site would need 17 less parking spaces than required. With the revised parking matrix and 50 additional parking spaces from the church, the site would still not be able to meet the minimum parking requirements for another restaurant. Therefore, staff would recommend a parking agreement be executed with the former Randy's Barbecue to the southeast. The Planning and Zoning Commission concurred with the staff's recommendation that the church vacate within 30 days and a parking agreement be executed.
Okay.
And I would say also either to have the parking agreement or some other way to provide that amount of parking. One of the things that came up was some of the parking that actually is adjacent and looks like it's part of the parking lot for this development is actually on the property of the Randy's Barbecue site. So as staff, I would recommend either you get that parking agreement or you buy it or you put parking on the vacant piece somehow to get that amount of parking back. I don't think it has to necessarily be a parking agreement. It just can be that or some other way to provide that number of spaces.
What restaurant's coming in there?
It's occasion, was it King Crab? Crab Kings.
So are you saying that right now it can't meet the existing parking requirements? We're proposing an alternative and asking them to acquire additional parking as well?
Correct.
So, I'm sorry, go ahead. Oh, I'm sorry, that's what I apologize. So, make sure I'm correct. We are electing not to renew the CEO of the church for lack of parking. But we are looking to get a restaurant and give them extra parking? Am I hearing correctly?
No, sir. Actually, the church, the Integrity Church, they don't have a long-term lease. They have a month-to-month lease, and the property owner has given them notice that they need to vacate because they don't have a long-term lease. So, yeah.
But they don't have a long-term lease because they didn't give them the CO.
Because they don't have parking.
Portland,
They have
yeah.
parking.
Yeah.
But they're asking us to approve the restaurant to accommodate parking.
So, let's wait on this just a minute, since
Okay.
it is public hearing.
Yes, sir.
Let's hear, from Mr. Zimmerman.
Sure.
Yep. And let me open this public hearing first, sir. So the time is, 7:59. We'll open this public hearing, and Mr. Zimmerman would State your name and your address for the record.
Stephen Zimmerman, 5307 Oak Lake Drive, Dallas, Texas.
Now, you're not necessarily the owner. You're
I'm not the owner, I'm
manager.
the property manager.
Yeah, or property. You've been to us before with that same,
I'm sorry?
you came to us before,
I
correct?
did,
Okay.
I did.
And that was the struggle that I think two of the council members had, before, was this parking for the church at some point, which is brought up. Stating all that, tell us what you want us to do.
So basically, this shopping center does not meet the parking regulation with a church or without a church. It was built, the city had it down as 234, around 234 spots, because the prior owners submitted a plan development on that land at the top, but they never developed it. So when we got the shopping center, I leased it as thinking I had 234 spots. Renewing Faith Bible, expanded into the old Snap Fitness place, and it took 90 of my spots away, which was not a big deal because I had 240 spaces. And when Integrity Church, they wanted to rebrand and go under a different name, they did not get their CO, and that's when the parking was brought to my attention. Emma brought it to my attention that we did not have enough spaces, and I couldn't sign any tenants. So I gave Integrity Church 30 days notice to vacate for two reasons. One, we can't sign them because the city will not allow us. And two, that was the city recommendation to me to come up here, was to get 30 days to have them leave. I would like to put them in a long-term lease, but they don't have the city will not allow it. Randy's Barbecue denied my parking for sale, and he won't do it. I don't blame him, I wouldn't do it either. If you're selling a property, why would you go into a parking agreement? It doesn't benefit the seller. The land at the top to be developed is $322,000. The owners are not gonna do that. So what I'm asking is, basically, it passed planning and zoning last time, and it failed council 3-2. And that was with the uses not changing. I have a lot of centers that I run, and I know, I can tell when I look at a center if there's gonna be a parking problem. This center's never gonna have a parking problem. So it's never gonna have a parking problem. The churches are only open on Sunday. And I don't find it fair for me to have to evict a church to and then have to bring in a big restaurant to liven up the center. Because I have a letter that I submitted from the church, from the one that expanded, excited to have the restaurant there next to them. And the center, the way it's laid out like a downtown destination center. We have everything, there's never a car in the parking lot. So the cost does not outweigh the benefits of spending almost, that's $322, that's gonna go up to lay a parking lot. It's probably gonna be $450,000 to lay a parking lot that a car will probably never park on. Because this center does not have a parking problem. It doesn't meet the ratio. But we didn't know that when I expanded the church into 5,000 square feet. My due diligence was going through the city, and it said 234. Then we thought we owned that parking, which was clearly built with this center on Randy's Barbecue. I don't know how that happened. I have to run title on Randy's Barbecue to find out if there's an easement, but I think it's a handshake agreement. My light poles are on there. I repaired the concrete. I repaired the light poles, evidently on someone else's property. So I believe that there's not going to be a parking issue. Do we meet the ratio? No. If there does become a parking issue, in my experience, it'll resolve itself. In the fact that if we sign all these tenants up and we get restaurants and we get traffic, and this place becomes 95% full, we will develop that extra land because we'll need it. These kinds of problems, when there's extra land, will resolve themselves. But I can't do anything. The center's going to go into bankruptcy if y'all do not approve the parking as is, and the zoning change, you're taking out all the high-use tenants anyway. I can't sign a church, I can't sign certain tenants. That solves a lot of the problem, in my opinion. So I get y'all's position, but my position is, if you don't do this, then I've already got Mathnasium left, Fruitful Designs, I just gave a rent discount to, last week. They're not gonna make it. There's no foot traffic in this center. I got 2 vacant restaurants. The donut place is hurting. Unless I can start signing, and if there was a parking problem, it's really not that, how many times do you go into a center and there's not a parking spot? What's it matter? The tenants will thrive. You have to go somewhere else, but that's everywhere I go that's a fun place to go. You have to park far away, or you go somewhere else. It's not the end of the world to approve this. I hope we have a parking problem. That means we have tenants and there's life in that center. So that's my stance, and that's kind of where we are on this. Last planning and zoning, they approved it the time before this, without any change of use, nothing. And council shot it down. This time, I think the change of use is enough, in my opinion. I can't fill it with tenants that are gonna flood the parking, and then the tenants are gonna be mad. But it's, if they're mad, they're gonna be mad at me. That's really it. Randy's Barbecue will not give me that agreement.
That's Mr. Byron.
I only talked to the agent. I talked to the agent, and he got him on the phone within 5 minutes, and he said he's not gonna do anything because he's selling it, and why would he? I don't blame him, I wouldn't do it either.
Okay.
But that doesn't mean we park there, whenever we want it. I don't even think they know that it's their land.
They do now.
They do now, but they didn't know before.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Was there anybody else here to kind of speak on this? Is there anybody online? Entertain a motion to close this public hearing at 8:06. Councilman Franklin, Councilman Goodwin. Favor.
Franklin, aye.
Aye.
Drake, aye.
Smith, aye.
Closes at 8:06. So, Mr. Zimmerman, in your opinion, what the compromise that staff and P and Z kind of came up with is beneficial or is not beneficial?
It is beneficial.
Okay, just want to make sure.
Yeah, the rezoning, the way this thing was zoned to begin with, every single building has different use, a different zone, it made no sense.
Okay, so y'all,
Yeah,
grouped it together?
But one of the components was that he go get the parking agreement with Randy's, and during the week, in between P and Z and now, he got to Randy's and he said they won't give him a parking agreement. So when P and Z passed it, was kind of those stipulations.
Can I say one thing about that?
Yeah.
They don't have an easement to get on my property to park on the parking. So they have to do something, but the owner has no, if you look at it, there's no easement that allows them to enter onto my property to use their parking space. So they're gonna have to give me something, they're just not gonna do it right now. So when that does sell, they can't park on their own property because they can't cross my property.
But, yeah, that's correct.
Okay.
Assuming they need whatever use they put in there, that they would actually need those spaces, because, I guess technically they can do another driveway like right here and then, take the curves off this and use it that way.
That's, stupid.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, so, council, let's kind of hammer that. So, Mr. Hartman, you're saying the only reason why P and Z approved it was with the understanding that there would be some type of agreement to increase the number for this Crab King thing?
That there would be a avenue to get more parking, whether that was through the parking agreement. I also brought up the fact that there could be some kind of development agreement that was done, but I think you just talked about not doing the additional parking on the vacant parcel, up here. So those were kind of the two avenues I suggested, and P and Z went with the parking agreement here on the Randy's parking.
I agree with Mr. Zimmerman.
if you don't do something, this thing
Oh,
could
yeah, right.
tear it down, bulldoze it. So it's, I never have seen any parking lot full over there, and I've been here when they approved the thing.
Mr. Zimmerman, I know you talked to, was Mr. Rust, I guess, the broker, whoever the broker is. And I know they probably want more than what you want to buy the whole property for, but did you talk to them at all about just buying that property that the concrete's on?
No, there's no point. That owner's not gonna sell. You have to go through a replat, just to section that off. We did offer on the property, but they're asking $1 million for that. No one's gonna pay $1 million.
And you don't think they're gonna?
They're not gonna pay $1 million. They're gonna.
No, but you don't think they're gonna sell off just that parking
No,
area?
the cannibalism, no. We have to pay so much for that, we might as well develop that land up there.
Okay.
Yeah, so, the truth is, it'll sell eventually. I think at some point they're gonna come back to me, because I made a decent offer, and then we own it, but that's hearsay. They can't, the cost is, I think we'll get the parking agreement.
Eventually.
From the new people, if they even know they own it.
I'm sorry, if we approve this today, then he's not gonna be able to meet the requirements because he's already explored them and not viable, right?
So is there a way to, approve it?
The conditions.
Yeah, gotcha. He said chips, so you can shut that parking lot down.
Sorry?
You can shut that entrance down, that north entrance.
Absolutely.
You can throw a cone up there tonight and say, sorry.
There's no one there anyway, Randy,
Right.
yeah, but they're not gonna notice the phone for a long time, but,
Right, but you can.
I can technically block their
Shut that
parking.
off.
I've had this before on my other centers. And they just sign, we do an agreement, we move on. They're not, whoever buys that is not prime real estate. You're not gonna get a Wendy's or a Chick-fil-A to go right there. So whoever buys that is probably gonna be a mom and pop barbecue place, because I went in there and I looked at it, it's got all the equipment, the place is falling apart. No one's gonna pay $1 million for it. You're gonna get a mom and pop that probably gets that thing for like $650,000, $700,000, and I tell them you can't park here, and you know, maintain it, and they'll sign the agreement. My light poles are on that property. You know, the lanterns that are on Main Street, the same ones are on that. I don't understand how the prior owners probably did a handshake agreement with somebody at some point.
They did, and, I talked to them on Wednesday. So I have, Mr. Byram's contact right here pulled up. You know, it's a shame, but, okay, so is this something that we can, it's stupid. This is a great facility, and if we can get some businesses in there, and if, I understand the regulations that we have as a city, not to compromise that, but is there a way that we can say, okay, can you do a CO for X amount of period of time, and if they don't get it, that come up to that parking regulation in 4 years, 2 years, a number, that then they have to start paying a fine?
It wouldn't be really fine-based, it would be, revocation based.
Right.
It would be some kind of temporary CO,
But-
that's a long time usually a temp CO
Okay.
is 6 months. You can do a development agreement, you can do a myriad of things, I think.
So is that something that is doable with?
The temporary, the problem with that is, we're putting in, for King Craft, we're putting in about $50,000, and they're gonna put in about $100,000. Let's say I can't get Randy to sign this thing. You're gonna throw out, revoke the
No.
CO?
But I'm trying to figure out a way that would maybe be 2 years, 3 years, something like that, which then gives you other opportunities to get other businesses in there
Yes.
to justify the expenditure for more parking.
Exactly. Yeah, well, if we're full, we'll build fast, the railroad track, everything behind it.
Okay. I know the city's not gonna like this, but
I think if you do it with that interim tag on it, even if it is a longer term interim, I think you have to do that, because otherwise, you know, the rest of our parking regulations, anybody else that goes into an existing facility that has existing number of parking spaces would come back and say, well, you need to let us do whatever we want because we did that on Main Street Plaza. So I don't think we want to get into that situation, but I think if we did have a longer-term, temporary solution and then give him some time to work that out.
With the Rangers barbecue, if I get them to agree, would that resolve that and we're good to go?
I think so, yes.
Okay. I'm not really worried about the Rangers barbecue. Right now, they're saying no.
Right. I mean, and that's what P&Z requested.
What was it?
Bob,
They were just saying
Yes.
October.
Yes.
is there a limit on how long-term of a temporary we can do?
Well, what you do is put a sunset provision in the PD requirement and then come back and visit it within that period of time and go back to the zoning process with them. I'm comfortable writing it any way the council deems appropriate to
Okay.
put sunset provision.
Okay, so it'd just be adding a sunset provision onto the PD zoning,
Yes,
for 2 years or 3 years or?
So if
Yes.
I get Rangers barbecue in 6 months, we're good.
Yes.
Okay.
What about that little lot, I know you don't own the big lot, the little one right just south of where that is, right next to the, go up a little bit?
Right next to Dan, Kids University?
Yes.
That is ours.
Yeah, they own that whole big lot, that whole triangle.
Oh, you actually own the whole triangle?
They say it's cost prohibitive just to.
Oh, all right, I thought you said you
That
had.
was linked with gas pipes already,
Right.
gas, electric, plumbing, and to mow over that would be, doesn't make any sense.
Remember where the trail blades is going, where the old restaurant, the big one was?
No, that's where the.
Taste of Miami?
Miami is.
Yeah, Taste of Miami.
Okay, take that.
Yeah. Okay, what are
Get that other one,
I have to.
Unless there's already asphalt parking there.
What about in Church?
Y'all let me keep them, I'll go back to them and say, just, y'all, they can't get a CO, that's the problem.
So that is ultimately my concern. We are willing to move a mountain for a restaurant, but at the end of the day, we're telling Church, we're not gonna review your CO, because you don't have parking.
Can I say something on that?
Sure.
They only signed a 12-month lease originally. They wanted a 12-month extension, that's the CO that they got denied. They wanted to do a 12-month extension, because they want to go out and get their own place somewhere else anyway. But now I think they're finding that quite hard to do. So if I approach them to say, that would be the city's position.
Could you write in a sunset provision on that too?
That's my only concern. If we're willing to do that as a city, I'm willing to.
We're supposed to be sales tax revenue.
Yeah, I understand, but I also feel like that's what he just said. If they can't even find enough building to move, they're a business too. They may not be a high trade business, they're a business too.
Sales tax revenue, what I'm saying.
Yeah, I get it.
People in there that does.
P&Z said they'll approve it if he gets this, so if we set a sunset, so that should solve P&Z's issue.
For the parking, did they also put
They had a requirement about vacating,
the church?
to vacate that before this goes into effect.
Just prior to getting the Crack King CO, so that 30 days was September 3rd or
Yeah.
whatever. So
I know they have to sell this space.
Yeah, so by the time, Crack King goes in, does their thing, does all their stuff, we wouldn't even give them the CO. I mean, it's gonna take them several weeks to probably do their inside and put their signage and stuff up, I'm assuming.
They rebranded and they put up their other sign, and then I said you have to go back to your.
No, I'm talking about Crack King.
What about
So the provision was that the church vacated within that 30 days, and then we would let, Crack Kings get their CO. So the assumption is that it would take several weeks for Crack Kings to get the space ready.
it? Yeah,
And they would actually be issued an actual CO.
right, yeah,
So that during that 30 days, or October 3rd or something, that was their
Yeah, it was-
out, so.
yeah,
So Crack Kings wouldn't get their CO final inspection prior to that.
right.
Most likely.
There's no way they would.
Yeah, the things that they have to do.
Right.
So if you did a 1-year sunset on the church, and you did a 2-year sunset on the parking, then that would give the church a year to find someone.
That would be great. If we could not evict them and let them stay, to me, it's just wrong.
And then at that point, you probably would have gotten something from Randy's Barbecue, whoever that owner is by that time.
I'll get something. They don't have much of a choice when I put pressure on them.
Yeah.
They can't even get their trucks on to tear up the lot.
Right, and,
So, and with the new uses, I can't sign churches anyway.
right.
But this one does not have a CO yet. So if we could swing that, that's ideal. It doesn't hurt the church. It helps the center.
But you would do it with a sunset?
I'm not sure what a sunset is.
Well, that basically is after a year, they no longer have the ability to have a CO there. So if they sign a 1-year lease and we did a sunset provision for 1 year, then you would have to come back again assuming to find somewhere else, then there's no issue.
You mean a separate sunset just for the church?
Right,
That's fine.
right. So you
Because
have-
they didn't really, they were looking to build or purchase their own place anyway. It's happening too fast for them.
Right.
So what would that look like? We would approve the use list as proposed, but then make an exception somehow for that one, for a temporary use or something? I don't know what the mechanism.
I think you would, Bob, with that,
This is under the new matrix, correct?
Yeah,
Would you-
I would have
would you-
to,
an SUP for churches and have a sunset provision on the SUP?
yeah, yes. That'd be the easiest way to do it.
So give them a year to decide, hey, we want to build our own church, or whatever the case may be.
Right.
But if something happens before then, there's no stipulations of them.
They have lease.
But just be-
Lease issues, but no issue with the.
Not with the city.
Yeah.
But they want to sign.
Do it, they're not required.
That works for me, I'm fine with it.
They'll be back here next month if we do this, put 1 or 2 more down, the alcohol sales, we'll have to get approval for that too.
I have a letter from the church of paying
Well,
them.
that's that church, but the new, church that'll stay, is
Oh, he doesn't. I mean, I didn't get a letter from him because y'all told me he had to evict him. He does not care. I've already talked to him. I can get a letter and send it to y'all. You can put that stipulation. He does not care. They're excited. They want a place to go to.
I don't think you have to do a waiver for that one because it's door to door along the sidewalk. So basically, you come out of the front door of the catfish place, you walk all the way around, back down to the sidewalk for the other one and back across. You're gonna be beyond the maximum or the minimum. Yeah. So the only one you're gonna have to worry about a waiver on, I think, is the bigger church, yes.
Okay, so how do we, so Bob, what do we need? So how are we doing this to satisfy all that the concerns are?
You would approve the SUP with, I would do a 1-year sunset provision.
Or,
Can we do that tonight though, or does that have to be a separate zoning matter?
No,
In other words, we have
I'll write,
PD.
it's just conditioned that you have, by debate, have decided to put in the PD regulations. I'm fine with doing it tonight and rewrite it if you'll approve it with a 1-year sunset.
1-year sunset on the church. 1-year sunset on the church. Council, you good with that?
Yeah, for like October 2023, so we're talking about.
You good?
Go get the time to go sign the lease.
Right.
Mr. Zimmerman, you good with that?
good with that.
All right. And
Parking, what do y'all think on sunset on that?
you want to say
Couple of
2 years?
No, as long as we take care of the church, we can, whatever.
No,
I think
for the key.
We still probably want to put a date on it just in case, like, we wouldn't want to totally subvert our parking.
Right, you're gonna run into, you can. I mean, just because it sunsets doesn't mean that you can't redo it.
Well, okay.
But I don't know.
Only thing I'd say, yeah, instead of like Mr. Zimmerman, I just want to give them a little more assurances that when you
Right.
do attendance, that they're not going to have parking.
So
for
you
the
got-
CO.
I would recommend a year on the church and 2 years sunset on the parking.
I think I'm good with that too. But
I could do that, that's fine.
So 5 years, that's good?
I'm just afraid if we don't do some sort of sunset on the parking, that we're gonna run into trouble on every single existing property that we have in the city of Red Oak.
I'm good with that.
In 2 years, if we want to, right?
Right. Put another
But if
sunset.
I produce the Randy's Barbecue parking agreement, then I can lease up that place.
That's correct.
Okay.
Good?
Well, still, I mean, with the new,
Well, it's the new uses.
with the new usage and parking matrix.
Okay.
All right, Bob, you got enough of that changes to get it written right?
Yes, sir.
Can you propose a motion?
Okay, is that gonna be 22036 revised?
I would just do approve ordinance, number 2236 with the following amendment: 1 year on the parking requirements for the church, 2 years on the parking matrix, and I can get it rewritten based on that.
And those are sunsets.
Yes.
Okay. All right, I'm sorry, who said first? Okay, Councilman Lightfoot. Second was Councilman Drake.
Hang on just.
Whoa.
I just want to make sure that we're all on the same page. So if this is approved as presented with the new parking matrix, and they bring in the restaurant, say the one that we're talking about, and then another restaurant wants to come in 3 months later, they're gonna have enough parking for that second restaurant?
Yeah.
That's different.
No, they won't.
They would, once the church went away, they would gain those spaces
They
back.
get those spaces back. Right.
So basically, every new user, you have to recalculate it.
So that's what we always have.
Yes.
That's
Yes.
what we always.
Well, can I not get that? Because I've got a restaurant that wants the big space. And so that was one of the caveats. Can I not get that parking to do that second restaurant?
As long as the church is on the second restaurant.
I'm sorry?
What is the second restaurant?
In the big space.
Yeah, you probably can't say.
As long as the church is there.
So if you got both restaurants and then you still have the church in, that may be something, I mean, would then the owners be interested in doing the extra parking or not?
The more revenue they'll do, if we can do partial and keep up with the parking spaces, yeah, but 325 to 450 is just, it doesn't make any sense on the center that is so, we got sunsets, we got, 1 year on this, it's not stable to put, no one will put that money in. What I'm saying is, can you free up? I'm assuming Integrity is gonna wanna stay, they're pretty upset.
The church
Mayor.
would be 10 o'clock to 1 o'clock.
Yeah, they're not, that's the thing, they're not there, everyone's closed when they're there.
What do you think?
I was,
No.
Okay, you took churches off the use list, so we're not gonna count that.
Different, if you guys wanted to set a new standard for church parking, but that's go against what our current ordinance is.
This is a PD, right? This is a
Yeah.
planned development, so you can write the regulations that meet the requirements of this kind of strange configured property. Is this something you have to do tonight? Because now you're moving more cars than I think you all may be comfortable. No pun intended. There's too many moving parts to try to do planning out here. If it was simple fix for 1 and 2 years, I was okay with that, but now you're writing scenarios that may or may not take place. And so that's gonna be more difficult to write so that it makes sense.
I'd like to solve today's issue, but it sounds like if you've got new users coming in, we're gonna be revisiting this again.
We sure won't have to see restaurants, I'll tell you.
I mean, that's what we want out of this whole development, we want it to fill up with people to use it, but we don't want it to,
the church would like to be there a year. By the time the big restaurant would even be open, we're looking at 6 months, because we've already negotiated and talked, they need 6 months finish out. The parking will never come into effect.
Which restaurant are you talking about?
The big one.
The one in the corner at,
Yes, that one.
All that. Eagle's gone.
I never knew there was an eagle there.
that fountain right there. All right.
$400,000, he could solve all this, if he builds a parking lot. Sounds like EDC.
Well, I'm sorry, I don't know how to proceed. I'm
The
sorry.
problem is I can't push this any further. These tenants are not gonna stick around. The Crab Kings will go in, the restaurant they're gonna go, so they've already asked me, do I have any other spaces? Other than this, but it's just, time kills deals. I can't come back in a month.
Do we know who the second restaurant is?
It's an independent, they're investors. It's gonna be like a sports bar restaurant.
Is there anything that limits in the church's lease about the dates and times they can use the facility?
The what?
Is there anything in the lease with the church that would say they only operate on Wednesdays after 6 and all day Sunday?
No, but they'll sign that.
If you had
That's all they ever do anyway. That's all they want.
then that way, the council, you could assure that there is not a conflict with parking requirements.
So that gets us 50 spaces?
That's what I need, is those 50 spaces. Otherwise, I'm landlocked again.
If you say, if you get this agreement from the church that says they use these spaces during this time, then we won't count any of the parking. I have to write that in.
Yeah,
So, in exchange for that year sunset thing.
They'll give time.
You could get that,
And that would make them very happy.
and do you know for sure it's Wednesday and
I'm
Sunday?
100% positive, because I prepared it for last time I was here.
Okay,
So they just confirmed that if we don't include the church in the parking calculation, there's sufficient parking.
for both restaurants. No, with the sunset.
Yeah, because you still couldn't fill up any of that.
You still don't have enough parking because.
Yeah, you have all these, you have all these buildings.
As long as we're not sacrificing the church, I'm good.
We're not.
Let me ask you, and I know they don't have to because they have a longer term lease, but the other church that has the long-term lease, do you think that is something that they would be willing to sign as well in terms of hours of operation? Because that may be able to open up some additional.
I'm pretty tight with him. He's now Chris, the pastor. He's a good guy. I talked to him today. He texted me during the meeting. He's the one that got me the cement quote with he's a contractor.
Yeah, he is.
I hired him to he's keeping the property, doing all the landscape. I'm sure he would. They may go in there and do office clerical work.
Sure.
But they're never there except Sunday. There's a letter from him right here that y'all should have too. If you could free up that, yeah, that's.
If you could get both of those churches, one even is a big help for 50 spaces, but if you could get both of them to
Chris will sign that.
to an agreement that they would only operate, Sundays and Wednesday nights, then that frees up a lot of parking spaces.
Yeah, I just put brand new HVAC in for him to be nice. Yeah, he'll do that.
What suite spaces are those?
That's, it's building 19. It's the same one where the Crab Kings is going. It's 1901 through 1904. It's the old Snap Fitness. It's 5,000 square feet.
And the other church,
The other church is right behind them.
what's the building number so I can write it in the ordinance?
I'll tell you. What 18 is that? Building 17 is Integrity, and Renewing Faith Bible is building 18 and 19. But 1901 through 19.01 through it's 4 suites.
All right, there's two churches. What's the suite numbers on the other one?
They got the entire building. You can just say building 17. They have the entire one.
Okay. Okay, I got it, Mayor.
All right. So with those changes and with those sunset recommendations, I need a new motion to approve 22-036.
Second.
Okay, and that's still Lightfoot, and that's still Drake. Now, any other questions?
We're past the question.
Okay, well, I'm just making sure. Councilman,
Franklin, aye.
Drake, aye.
Lightfoot, aye.
Smith, aye.
that passes 5-0.
Problem solved.
So just to be clear, as I'm confused, just to be clear, so I get both churches to sign, they'll only operate, and I get those parking spaces back, sunset cruise?
Go ahead.
One church's lease has a sunset, the parking, exception has a sunset.
Right.
Right, so, but will so I won't have a parking issue if they sign the times?
Not for the 2 years that we put in for the
Okay,
sunset.
okay.
We build the parking lot, well done.
Well, and again, it goes back to what uses go in there. I mean, you go put in a 30,000 square foot restaurant, it's gonna take a whole lot more
I
parking
get,
space.
yeah, I'm not gonna, I won't cannibalize the center.
Right.
Yeah, I did this because I thought we had 234 spaces. I didn't know till they went for their CO and Emma called me. I said, you gotta be kidding me. And then Brandy's Barbecue, they'd have that too. I had no idea.
Are you good now?
I'm good, but we have another one after this.
Well, we'll get to that one here in a minute.
Okay.
Everybody good? And it's all clear? All right, cool. Oh, okay, we stay up there.
Yeah.
So, just a second.
Karen, we did do the public hearing and voted to close that and then voted on the action, right? Yeah. Okay.
Open at 7:59, closed at 8:06. That's at length,
Okay.
and then you
Just being sure.
Okay, so item 20, conduct a public hearing and consider adoption of resolution 22-088R, City Council of City of Red Oak, Texas, granting a distance variance of 300 feet to a church for Suite 1905, Lot 2R, Block B of the Red Oak Business Park Number 1, located on the south corner of South Main Street and the railroad tracks, also known as 205 Main Street, City of Red Oak, Texas, Ellis County, and providing an effective date. And this is a public hearing, so we will open the public hearing at 8:37. And Mr. Zimmerman, go ahead, open us out, please.
They're gonna sell daiquiris and the church doesn't care.
And that is there
And that's the Crab Kings.
okay, and that 300 feet is the Snap Fitness,
Yeah, they're like 12 inches.
oh, Taste of Miami?
Yeah.
Oh, well, it's that dividing wall right there.
Right.
Okay, and we've got, letters, anyway, anything else, so you're in favor of it?
I could see not putting a liquor store, but this law, to me, in my opinion, is outdated and should have been pulled a long time ago with the blue law. As long as it's a classy establishment that is regulated right, the churches, they prefer, they like it. According to them. There's a letter that y'all should have from, okay.
Second church won't need this thing, the 2300, good with that?
Well, this would be, you don't need it for each church, you just need it 300 feet from a church.
The other one's less than 300 feet.
No, I think he's talking about the same Cajun place, 300 feet, and you
Oh.
walk around to the second church. I guess my question is more for Bob.
Yes.
So, would this waiver apply to the entire property, or is it just for a specific suite?
It's an exemption for the restaurant to be located where it's located.
So it's for this specific restaurant, and then if somebody comes into the bigger suite in the future, we think we're gonna be okay on the 300 feet.
I was
But
understanding.
they would have to have a variance as well.
Assuming that they don't have the distance.
Right.
Yeah,
No.
300 feet door to door, quarter to quarter.
Yeah, so we did a measurement, and if you move the door over to this side of the suite, then it's about 300 foot.
Okay,
We're like 10 feet short.
okay. I'm just making sure we
Yeah.
don't,
So, and that's the only two places that we would put in there that.
right.
Anyone else here to speak on this public matter? This is the public hearing. All right, I'll entertain a motion to close this public hearing at 8:39. So,
Second.
Franklin, Smith, those in favor?
Franklin, aye.
Aye.
Drake, aye. Lightfoot, aye. Smith, aye.
All right, that passes 5-0. All right, council, you have any other questions that you need for this?
No questions.
Just procedural question. Do we need the church themselves that we ask for their opinion?
They just have the option to give their input.
Okay. So
That's
it's
why
like,
we
it's like
have-
a public comment, basically?
Yeah, that's why we have the public hearing.
Sure. Okay.
Okay.
I'm glad they approved, but I didn't know if we had to have that.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
have.
Yeah, I mean, it's good, I just wasn't sure procedurally.
But most ministers drive you to drink. So, all right.
We'll read for that in a minute.
All right, those in favor of passing this resolution?
Franklin, aye.
Drake, aye.
Lightfoot, aye.
Smith, aye. All right, that passes 5-0. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Good?
Yes, sir.
All right.
Thank
Do
you.
we have
Thank
a
y'all.
first and second?
Oh, I'm sorry.
I don't know who they
No,
were.
I did.
He didn't.
Did I motion to close?
Okay, I'm sorry, I apologize. Hang on, back up. Entertain the motion to approve resolution number 22-88 is 88R. Councilman Drake?
Second.
Councilman Smith? Okay, those in favor?
Franklin, aye.
Aye.
Drake, aye.
Lightfoot, aye.
Smith, aye.
All right, that still passes 5-0. Thank you.
Thank y'all.
Thank you.
Okay, item 21, conduct a fair public hearing and consider approval of ordinance number 22-037 of the city of Red Oak, Texas, amending the comprehensive zoning ordinance and map of the city of Red Oak, Texas, as heretofore amended by granting a change in zoning from Plan Development 24 Revised 5, Plan Development 24 Revised 6, to allow for the development of an office building on the site identified as being the remainder of Lot 2, Block 1, Red Oak Plaza, City of Red Oak, Ellis County, Texas, as provided in Exhibit A, attached hereto and incorporated herein, providing site plan, landscape plan, elevations, pole sign, and plan development standards attached hereto as Exhibit A through, Exhibit B through F, which are attached hereto and incorporated herein, providing a repealing clause, providing a severability clause, and providing a savings clause, providing a penalty of fine not to exceed the sum of $2,000 for each offense, and providing an effective date, ZC 22-28, requested by Dr. Patel. Dr. M.
This is a request for the development of an office building on the southwest corner of a villa and I-35 service road. The proposed office building will be approximately 7,845 square feet and will have the potential to serve medical office and administrative office uses. The exterior materials of the building will be brick and stone, and the plans exceed the city's minimum landscaping requirements. In the past, restaurant owners have owned the site with the intent to build a restaurant. Both office and restaurant uses are allowed by the current zoning and the future land use plan. However, a restaurant might be the highest and best use for the property in the long term. Staff recommends approval of the site plan package if the medical use is desired by the council, and recommends consideration on the highest and best use. On September 6, 2022, the Planning and Zoning Commission did recommend approval of the request with the residential pitched roof, and staff recommends the proposed building have a flat style commercial roof, just because it's along I-35.
So, I want to add on this one, that when this property was originally developed, years and years ago, it was all developed for basically commercial use, retail, restaurants, and so forth, which all predates Dr. Patel. We did make the change to allow the medical facility that's currently there. And when we did that, the idea was that this, I say we, council and so forth, that this other site here would stay for restaurant or retail. So I think you all have the opportunity to do either one. I just want to make sure you have the history of, that has previously been considered, and now you're going to be reconsidering. And I would agree with Dr. Emma. If you do the medical office, I would say that the commercial flat roof looks more like a professional office building. It also would match with the existing medical office building directly across from it.
So, okay. Okay. Well, this is a public hearing. We'll open the public hearing at 8:45. Dr. Patel and engineer, I apologize. I can't remember.
Good evening, my name is Jeff Linder with Bannister Engineering. Excuse me. Mansfield, 240 North Mitchell Road, and Dr. Sonny Patel here as well as the applicant. Just to summarize quickly, this is obviously a request, basically getting a site plan approval, but it's in the PD, for the office, could be professional office or medical office, for this structure. Obviously, we started with the residential pitch roof. That's Dr. Patel's preference from a maintenance standpoint, which is understandable considering the impact of a flat roof. However, we have prepared both elevations, and maybe we can discuss that tonight as well. I feel like the building is certainly adequately designed. Landscape, as you said, is above requirements, meeting all the, not having any troubles with access, providing additional sidewalks for public use in the right-of-way, 2 points of access, meeting the fire lane requirements and whatnot. So we feel like.
Speak up, I can't.
I'm sorry, sir, I didn't know, okay. Anyway, really, we're just here to answer any questions, and hopefully we can work through any concerns that y'all may have.
Thank you, sir. Dr. Patel.
Sonny Patel, 106 Plaza Drive, Red Oak, Texas. So just a little background on this property. It's not that we don't want to, develop a restaurant or whatnot, but the prior owner who had this property under contract did try. He went through engineering. He actually spent about $50,000-$60,000 trying to build a Mexican restaurant there. Wasn't able to push through all the way for multiple reasons. And one of them was TxDOT got involved around that same time because they're going to do an expansion. So now about 1/5 of their property got taken away. So that was one. And then two, even though it seems like it's a southwest Ovilla 35 Great Highway property, the access to this parcel is not as easy as you think. You have to do a whole loop around Plaza Drive, come under I-35 and into this parcel. That's because TxDOT, if you're going west on Ovilla Drive, you can no longer turn into Plaza Drive anymore. It actually affects all three of our parcels there, including the Mamacitas. So, I mean, I know it's better for the city, but that was a big access issue. So there's been a few other independent chains that have looked at it. Wendy's was another one who did come look at that site, and they decided to pull out and not proceed. So the restaurant idea is just not working there, to be honest with you. I've talked to 2 different brokers. Go ahead.
Dr. Taylor?
Yes.
They're gonna widen 664 to 6 lane across that intersection. What effect will that have on that property?
So that's already done where they're gonna do the expansion. That expansion is not gonna come down any farther east or west onto our parcel.
That's why, north and south, though.
North and south, is not gonna affect, they've already taken what they're gonna request. If you
Okay.
see in that red outline,
Yeah,
that's what's left over for us.
okay,
The initial yellow outline where we had the prior plans done, including myself, was before we knew what TxDOT was officially taking. So the red is what we're left with.
okay.
So they may come down a little, yes, north and south, but not near where we're planning to build.
And you're going from 4 to 6, so.
Yeah, and a big overpass, actually, a very big overpass there, which is gonna affect a little bit of the flow there.
Okay.
So just to touch on the restaurants, I'm happy to build a restaurant, but there's nobody wanting to come, be there to make a restaurant there. And I've talked to 2 lead brokers in Ellis County, both of people, well, I'm sure you guys know, neither of them was able to pull through for a chain to come there and look at this parcel again. So then, as the city's grown over the past few years, a lot of housing coming in, a lot of new apartments. So what's remaining is healthcare. Healthcare, there's not a lot of office space in Red Oak, actually. Midlothian has just gone, very high developments for medical, healthcare with the hospital. Waxahachie, same thing. Red Oak, I think we're a little behind, actually. And you're gonna see this problem in the future. Initially, you had some primary care specialists. I'm the only rheumatologist in Ellis County, actually. So all of our patients no longer have to go north of I-20. But that's being a consistent theme. Where do you go for your cardiologist? Where do you go for your pulmonologist? So all these specialty fields that people are used to driving into North Dallas, that they don't want to do that anymore. So you're seeing a lot of specialists try to come and put at least a clinic or a satellite office down in Ellis County. And Red Oak is a good area, actually, to catch South Dallas, Waxahachie, Midlothian. So we get people who reach out, even last week, for primary care groups. Office, retail, I'm sure. Light retail, we're not opposed to it. It just depends if somebody comes. So this meeting is more to just at least get the development going. I'm not too happy with that southwest corner and a lot of the trespassing that goes along. That's why you saw me here last time around. And I think if we finish off what we did for the last meeting when you saw me, build a wall down on Dana Street, develop this property, we're gonna remove a lot of these people who come back and forth through these 2 parcels all day long,
Yeah.
So I think we need a little more development in this corner. Pitched versus flat, the pitched roof was our preference. Obviously, that's up to the city council to allow us to proceed or not. We're not planning to just make a house style. It'll be transitional or modern appearing, and it'll match maybe what you've seen at 104 Plaza Drive, if you could probably show the new building on our parcel across the street. It's a mixture of stone and brick, just that flat roofs, deal with leaks a lot, pitch roof, not as big of an issue there. So that's kind of what we're saying when we're looking at residential styles, if you look at the picture there. We'll make it modern as we're able to,
Thank you, sir.
I got a question for you.
Okay, hang on just a second.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Do we need to do that in the public hearing, or we need to do that afterwards?
You close the public hearing and then ask questions.
Yes, I'll let you, because of that, okay. Entertain a motion, is there anybody else that wants to speak on this? Know that. All right, entertain a motion at 8:53 to close that public hearing. All right, Councilman Franklin, Councilman Drake. Those in favor?
Franklin, aye.
Aye.
Drake, aye. Smith, aye. All right, that's 5-0. Okay, sir, go ahead.
Just for clarity, your preference is to match this roof line on the new development?
The preference is yes, correct. This one right here.
And city staff prefer the flat roofs, which is right across the street?
No, on the highway. Well, right next to it, pivot around, so that one.
Yeah, so this building was done first, it had the flat roof. Then
So-
this one was done pitched, and the reasoning, at the time when we did the zoning for this one, was that it's transitioning kind of in between this kind of semi-residential to the highway/commercial district. And so, that was one of the reasons we thought it was good to have the pitched roof versus the standalone over here that's on the highway.
Well, it was also, even going back to the first building, back when Dr. Macy originally brought it forward, was, they said, well, we really don't want medical office there, but we'll allow it if you build something extremely nice and it needs to look like this. So then when the second building came through, and that was because it was facing the highways, you're driving down I-35 with 120,000 cars a day and looking right at the front of it, they wanted to be able to see a nice commercial looking, nice building. And they felt like that flat roof was more commercial looking than a residential building. They weren't as concerned with building two, because at that point they're saying, well, you don't really look, as you're driving down 35, you're not seeing that because you're not facing it coming and going. And that's why they were okay with that. From staff's perspective, I'm going back to the original one and saying, well, this is why we did this, and this is how this all happened, so that's why I'm recommending council can do whatever you want to do. I mean, you don't have to say the same thing that council did back then. I'm just telling you that's what council's thoughts were at the time.
You can see that building coming north south.
I tend to favor the newer building. I think the pitched roof, I think it's easier on eye, in my opinion.
P&Z have a strong preference of?
I think they approved the residential.
They approved the residential.
Yeah, that's good.
I'll just chime in. I mean, I'm not against, flat roof. We just thought the residential looked nicer here. Todd's right. I mean, flat roofs in certain areas do look nice, but in this specific area, I didn't feel it's absolutely necessary. If you're picturing the flat roof with the gray and white scheme that's going around right now with a lot of glass, it does look very nice. It's true. But, I mean, preference, I guess, a little bit.
Does it matter with what they're doing a couple blocks north of there, those medical buildings?
Where's that, north?
Which medical building?
The Vectron building.
So that's actually, I wanted to touch on that. That's actually a big development, was gonna be retail, restaurants, and no medical is planned there right now. So I would say, back on the restaurant usage, that's where you're gonna have your restaurants.
Yeah, and I would agree with that. It's just how long do you want to look at? That's really the only question. If you want to say we're going to look out at this thing 10 years in the future, you might get a restaurant there. If you're looking at what's going to happen in the next 5 years, you're probably not going to get a restaurant there because there's too many other better spots for them to be.
So, engineer, do you know what that elevation of the Little Road overpass is gonna be?
It's gonna be several feet. I sent you the plans. Y'all get an actual number off of it compared to what you're.
Well, we've got an actual estimated number off of it, just from looking at, what our topo is, the middle of the site on the north side, and about midway on the bridge. It looks like it's probably about 18 feet. The driving surface will be about 18 feet higher than the current finished grade. So,
But how tall is your peak of your?
well, the peak is probably 45 feet, 45 feet for the pitched roof. For the flat roof, there's the risk, and I don't know exactly, of being able to look down on the top of the roof and see the AC units and whatnot. So that's something that.
Yeah, but I'd probably prefer to see that as opposed to shingles.
I don't know, I can't give myself an opinion on residential or not, but they prefer residential, the residential style P&Z was okay with it, I'm leaning towards that, I'm not trying to go one way or the other, though, someone can definitely convince me if you guys start to be.
I'm in agreement with the residential look, I think it's, in my opinion, a little more appealing, it's kind of.
Even with the new road.
My opinion.
So what's your occupancy, so that new, residential one that you already have open, is it full?
It's full, yes.
What
what's in there right now?
Primary medical office, WellMed, if you've heard of WellMed, they're kind of all throughout Texas.
Yeah, so it was brought to us originally that there was gonna be a pharmacy in there.
Pharmacy was in our initial building across the street, actually, but they didn't do too well because you need more foot traffic for a pharmacy. So they ended up closing their office, actually.
No, but I'm almost convinced that it was brought to us that it was gonna be in that new wing.
That building.
Yeah.
There was a lot of options at the time. It was just a shell, and then they came out of nowhere, WellMed did, and they finished it out. They're a good tenant, finished it out nicely, actually.
You got plenty of pharmacies in that area.
I can't remember about the new building being a pharmacy. I do know that the original building was a pharmacy because it was built into Dr. Macy's deal. It was for his patients, and, you know, he filled his own prescriptions there. It wasn't like you go to some other doctor and go get your prescription.
We got three major, pharmacies right there within five. Five now.
Walgreens, CVS, Walmart.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
Okay. Any other questions, council, for, Dr. Patel? Okay.
And Ben, other than those two questions about which type of building and whether the use is the most appropriate, everything else on the plan is,
Oh, yeah.
works.
Yeah.
Exactly right.
The landscaping, the only thing, you know, Emma and I discussed is, you know, great if it can somehow be medical office for 15 years and then transition to the restaurant. If that became, you know, the market there, but you would have a tough time parking it. Because in
With
this
this-
case, the
with this
building is so
building.
big
Yeah.
that you don't have very much parking.
Yeah.
I think the restaurant use in that little corner would be good, but hard to make work. I mean, you mentioned one of the users that, the one that I'm most familiar with, I was looking at it, Avery, talking about having stuff, they've got lots of ways to configure smaller, and they were talking about how tough that corner was, so.
I think I like the idea that it's been out medical, a little medical.
So drainage for that area, how does that?
It all drains into the TechDOT right away.
Yeah.
So we'll have to work with TechDOT on what the requirements will be for developing.
So,
That's a lot cheaper.
you know, that, try to come out after hours, when people are coming around that jug handle, you know, that's gonna be a very crazy ingress and egress.
Improve a lot when we get the.
Oh, okay, well, let's talk, so how does that play into this plan? He didn't either.
Well, you just showed it.
No, he didn't.
So what Dr. Patel was mentioning was that the yellow line was where TechDOT's taking.
No, that's not what I'm asking. When they elevate and they get those ramps that are coming back and forth.
Right, the intersection kind of moves to here.
Hang on.
Yeah,
I'm
so
not
Plaza Drive will not be as impacted once the spoolie is put in place, because it's a single point urban interchange with a signal in the middle of the intersection.
Right.
So if I am coming southbound on 35 and I wanna go back to the east, I'm just pulling up there now, hitting that red light, and then continuing on through. I don't have to come do this loop around to get back on Oakville Road to head east.
Okay.
Yeah, so
Still like it does right there.
yeah, well, no, actually, it's
Service road goes up.
significantly different than that. You still have the at-grade service road, but the main service road will come up to meet it.
Okay, so the service road going southbound, what is that elevation then?
After they come up to the top of the deck.
Okay.
So if you want to access it, you're gonna stay low and go under the bridge. So, yes, you would still utilize the under part of the bridge to get to Plaza,
Okay,
but most people that are not going there are gonna go up to the top and then utilize to go Yeah, left,
So,
right.
so turn south at the spooey. At what elevation does that ramp go down I-35?
Going to the.
Going south.
So you're gonna be in a hole there is basically what you're getting at.
That building's gonna be in a hole, so there's gonna be if you turn right onto Plaza, it goes underneath a bridge.
Yeah, so if you look at this, the screen, the purple is elevated.
No, we don't.
Yeah, we don't see it on now.
Oh, sorry.
Okay.
So the purple is elevated, and that will go down to the highway grade, or I'm sorry, the frontage road grade. Up, down, from the, yes.
Yes.
So the spooey, the kind of peach part, that's all elevated, that's the top of the deck of the bridge. And so the purple is gonna go from the top of the deck of the bridge down to the green, which is the current at grade. So this green here that accesses Plaza will be the at grade, it goes underneath, just like it does today.
Okay, so I was thinking it went to the west of 35, it stays closer to 35 when I was saying
Right.
it goes under a bridge, but it does not.
No.
So that's elevated.
If you're going east on, how do you get on Plaza Drive?
You have to go,
You have to loop around the right again?
yeah, so you'll have to, it's hard to see on this, if you're going to the east, you'll turn right here. If you're going to west,
You're gonna do the same
Go
way
way
on
off
the bridge.
You're gonna have to go across the bridge.
Turn right by the gas station,
Yep.
same
Yeah.
as you now.
No, that's a one-way.
right, yeah, you're not gonna be able to utilize this, you're gonna have to come down here somewhere.
And you go up
To Overlook.
back to Overlook.
Yeah.
Right.
So the point is, you're gonna have significant detrimental impact to westbound traffic on Overland Road.
What's that have to do with his building?
Thank you. Councilman Goodwin. Councilman Goodwin. Councilman Goodwin. Councilman Goodwin.
I think it does have a big impact to it. I mean, if you look at it from the perspective of the use, it's much easier to say at this point that a medical building would be okay there than putting a restaurant there.
Right.
Because, well, they would have until you had this. They would have
They were
until you had
interested in
this.
it.
Yeah,
None had basic work yet.
right.
So,
All right, thanks for that clarification.
But this makes it even more difficult.
All right. All right.
when's the big office building? That's.
But I think, you know, as the city, I think we have to ask that question. Because we have only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 hard corners on interstate intersections. So I think we have to be we have to look at it very tough. Very particular. And
I actually think on Dana Street, where those houses are that are kind of run down and open lots, they have easy access for good retail restaurants, but it'll take time, you know, to get all of those lots there.
Yeah.
Right south of our medical building.
I think it will, but what I'm getting at though is, I mean, you have to be very protective of your highway intersections. You only have so many of them. So I think that's why we need to look at it very closely. And what the mayor's getting at is, in this case, it makes sense because it's gonna be sunk down in a hole.
Okay.
There's really no argument there besides the EDC member on the council.
Right.
That's exactly what you look for and why we try to do best use. The fact that there's already some medical across the way, that other pad would have been a good place for restaurants and development too. It's already got medical, it's kind of aligned with it, so.
Okay, entertaining a motion to approve ordinance number 22-037.
Second.
Councilman Goodwin. Councilman Drake. Those in favor?
Light on ready.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Yeah, I was gonna ask that too, is it in here as the residential elevations they're at?
If you are approving what the recommendation from P and Z, then yes, that's what.
So should we stipulate that as a,
Just say,
I don't think you-
I'd just say whichever one you wanna do.
with the proposed residential?
Proposed residential.
Residential.
Yeah.
P and Z.
yeah.
So you good with that?
That's,
Are you good with that? Okay, now, how would you vote?
Franklin, aye.
aye.
Drake, aye.
Lightfoot, aye.
Smith, aye. All right, passes 5-0. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thanks for talking through it.
Thank you for your time.
All right, item 22, conduct a public hearing and consider approval of ordinance number 22-038 of the city of Red Oak, Texas, amending the comprehensive zoning ordinance and map of the city of Red Oak, Texas, as heretofore amended by granting a change in zoning from Plan Development 56, PD 56, to Plan Development 56 Revised 1 for the site plan package of a self-storage facility, mini warehouse on the site identified as Lot 1, Block A, a Springfield Business Park located on the northeast corner of North Highway 77 and Deer Creek Drive, also known as 101 Free Market Drive, City of Red Oak, Ellis County, Texas, as provided in Exhibit A attached here to and incorporated herein, providing a development plan, landscape plan, site plan, elevations, and plan development standards attached here to as Exhibits B through E, which are attached hereto and incorporated herein, providing a repealing clause, providing a severability clause, providing a savings clause, providing a penalty of fine not to exceed the sum of $2,000 for each offense, and providing an effective date, ZC 22-30, requested by Jay Hillson. Apologize. Dr. Emmett?
This is a request for the review of the site plan package for a self-storage facility on approximately 6 acres of land. The use is permitted by right per the originally approved PD ordinance. There are 8 proposed self-storage buildings with access to the site from Free Market Drive and Shawnee Road. A common access easement will be provided from Free Market Drive that will serve this site and the remaining tract in the future. An automatic sliding gate which leads to the common access easement will be provided on site. A 6-feet masonry fence will be provided as screening from Shawnee Road, North Highway 77, and the residential property to the north and east. On September 6, 2022, the Planning and Zoning Commission did recommend approval of the request as presented. Staff concurs with that recommendation.
Okay. This is a public hearing. So we will open the public hearing at 9:12. Is there anyone here to speak for or against this planned development? State your name and your address.
Matthias Albert, 2600 Network Boulevard, Frisco, Texas, Suite 310. Here is the civil engineer on behalf of the applicant. The staff report, I think, is pretty clear. We've got a site plan for really self-storage that was permissible in the PD 56, as that was granted. Really our intent is almost as a development plan here. The PD, as it was granted, did not have elevations, did not have a site plan, anything else that was associated, basically just established some development standards, primarily being permissible uses. This attempt here, before you tonight, is basically to document what can be done on this property, showing the site plan, showing elevations, there's some signage and things like that, landscaping plans that are all presented before you, basically to show what can be developed on the property in accordance with the PD as it was previously approved. So with that, I'll be here if there's any questions after the public hearing.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else?
I entertain a motion to close this public hearing at 9:14.
So moved.
Councilman Lightfoot, second by Councilman Franklin. In favor?
Franklin, aye.
Aye.
Drake, aye.
But I,
Smith, aye. All right. So, any,
Yeah, just, make y'all aware, we did receive one one piece of feedback from the owner who lives across the street. I was just looking, online, he was online at the P&Z meeting, and he had, some concerns about, the access onto, the site that was across the street from his house, so there's an access point here. His house was kind of in this general area. Talked through, why there was 2 points of access and why we didn't, want, another access point on Deer Creek. The county thoroughfare plan has this as a minor arterial, so we wanted them to connect to this road versus, this Deer Creek, which is a residential subdivision road. But this is more of a secondary point. The main entrance is here because the office is up here. And so people that are coming in to rent space or talk to someone at the office, the main traffic flow for the employees would utilize this entrance because the office is up here. This one would be a secondary, not only for emergency, but for, people coming to get in and out of their storage units. It's gated here. This bump out here was provided so that a car could easily do a 3-point turn and get out, if they couldn't get past the gate. So that did not necessarily appease the, gentleman, but the, facts were stated. And we don't have that.
So the gate's not on the roadway, it's off the roadway?
No, it's up here.
You're not waiting for the gate?
Right, yeah, you wouldn't be sitting here, that's why we had them put it up here and do this, so if a car got stuck, they could turn around.
what's that distance, do you know? Yeah.
Probably around 50 feet or so, yeah, not for 2-3 cars, probably a queue if needed.
Okay. And that, but is that a routine exit point?
It can be, but I don't think it's designed to be that way. Really, this is a very low traffic generating use to begin with. I mean, we're talking, maybe 20 cars a day. Don't quote me on that, but that's kind of the part that we're looking at here of very low traffic. So, most of the traffic I would imagine is probably going to be coming from 77 anyways, where they're going to access Free Market Drive, and enter the site there. They're not going to drive past one access point to go to another access point that's less convenient. So, it's, for emergency management, we need 2 points of access. That's kind of what's provided here, but, it is still gated where it's not open, like, Mr. Hartman said, their leasing office and, everything else is at the other entrance where that's more convenient. So, I can't say there's not going to be any traffic that uses that entrance, but the comparison to probably the Free Market Drive entrance will be minimal.
So there is gate access. I mean, coming from off of Shawnee, so if you.
Correct.
You don't have to go all the way to Free Market.
Correct.
Okay.
how far is this from our southern border?
Close.
It goes further down, it goes down to, Green's property.
Are you?
It goes down there to north of Pete's Tire.
Yeah, there's I think this is the last piece that's here.
Yeah.
So it's a little Peach Tire split, I think, there.
About 1,500 feet.
Ben, on here, could you show us the subject, the access point we're discussing, and the homeowner's concern?
On the aerial or the?
No, on it, where you going now?
Okay. So I believe, this was his property, and that access point is somewhere around here. Property line where the trees are, so it's right in this area here. So I think, well, you looked at it and it'll let you. Sure, yeah, but it's pretty low, like I said, it's pretty low volume.
Have we got to do a zoning change or anything for this?
This is a technical zoning change to add the site plan to complete the zoning. To get a permit.
But essentially, the zoning was in place for the homeowner.
No, owner was first, because that's a new cut-through road.
Okay.
Yeah, so the road was installed and the land was split in half, and the road was installed to encourage development both sides.
To further tack on there, there's no variances or anything that are being sought here. It's all per the code.
All right.
And can you just show us what you got up there, the other alternative on Deer Creek? What was the,
Here,
yeah.
It's period.
so there's some issues, there's a pretty large, I think it's 100 feet wide.
Yeah, it's a transmission, electric line that runs through that area.
And that's not impossible, but certainly difficult to get,
That access across that is
right,
gonna have to go through separate review and probably need encroachment agreement or something along those lines, but
along with TxDOT permitting
Right.
on the 77.
yeah, the spacing is roughly 550 feet between Free Market and Deer Creek. So the spacing for driveways is probably 350 feet or so. So you're not gonna be able to get 350 feet, you need 700 feet or so in order to make that work. So we wouldn't be compliant, we'd have to get a variance in order to get that access anyways.
Any questions? I remember something about deed restrictions.
We gave the owner some deed restrictions that mirror the zoning, and he was going to file them, to make sure that the applicants did, what the zoning required.
Looking homeowners point.
I just think it's a low impact commercial development. He's not gonna be happy with anything commercial there. It's something that's low traffic is probably the best that you're gonna see there, just from his own, out of his doorway, point of view.
I think it's more, you got U-Haul, big U-Hauls coming in and out of there. Probably have RV storage too.
Coming off of.
Yeah, there's no RV storage necessarily proposed at this site right now. We had looked at, some 40-foot parking spaces, things like that to allow for that, but the current plans don't include any of that.
Looking homeowners. That's the homeowners point. Yeah.
Is there a way to force traffic to Free Market and just make this a fire department, emergency services connection only?
I'm sure it could just be a emergency access, we just put a Knox,
Knox box?
whatever on it, and,
Some signage likely.
yeah. But impact.
Chief, does that work for y'all?
Impact the use, it just.
I don't think it will, because if you have traffic from Shawnee, for them to make a right-hand turn onto Free Market, it's not the end of the world, or if they're traveling north, to make that turn before they even get to that point.
Yeah, I think you could easily make that emergency access only, put a Knox box on it and force the main traffic to Free Market.
I think that's a good solution. Not here that has an impact to the use.
I can agree with that.
If somewhere doesn't want to see commercial zone.
Yeah,
That's what he doesn't want, but if we solve the traffic issue, if he
Right.
doesn't, that's what he did.
Yeah, the traffic could actually be an issue for him. I mean, there's nothing you can do about the visibility.
Right, that's done, I get that part.
Question for staff in that regard then, in front of that building that's shown on the screen here, that would in theory become a dead end. City codes prevent or prohibit dead end parking, dead end access.
I guess, would you still be able to leave?
I think we're okay with that. If it's egress only and not ingress, I think we'd be okay with that, knowing that there's some motion sensor, something like that for egress.
Right.
Is that what?
Are we saying nobody uses that ever, except?
I'm saying nobody except emergency services uses it.
I think that'd be
I would think egress may be even worse than ingress, if you're in the dark and the headlights are shining right in your front windows.
Or you sitting there waiting for somebody to come out and.
Right.
Something in real quick.
I mean, the whole idea is try to funnel everything to free market.
Yeah.
And I don't think you'd have a problem with a dead end, because it's not actually a dead end, it's just an emergency access. And the reason that you have the requirements for the dead end is because of the fire department.
Right.
And if the fire department's the one that needs it, I think you're fine.
Yeah,
Would
my
you
only
agree with that,
concern is a customer that would come down that path, realize that it's emergency exit only, then they have to back out that entire path. That's, again, we're talking low traffic, I don't see that being a safety issue, but, just wanna make sure that from a staff standpoint, there's no objection to that.
Yeah, so then the walkout serves the opposite.
Right.
Right, we probably move that gate closer to
Put the
Shawnee
gate
in that
closer to
case.
Shawnee and have it,
Right.
Do they even have to have a second access point?
I think you will have just for fire and police. Yeah.
Because the one over here does not, they don't have one.
I know, but typically, to do it correct, you're yeah.
So why are there parking spots there?
Code requires, I think we've got about 83,000 square foot is kind of the footprint. The code requires so much per square foot, and I believe it's 4 per the complex, based on the size of the building. It's about 49 parking spaces are what's required for these. So we're meeting that. I think we're providing exactly 49, realizing that maybe is a little bit overkill for the use, but, most people probably just pull up right next to their unit and unload right there. I get logistically that's probably what will happen, but also trying to comply with the code in that case.
Only the outdoor unit.
Some of them will be interior units, yep. There'll be a mix, I don't know the exact breakdown, but some of them will be, externally accessed, kind of like your roll-up doors. There'll be other corridors internally that will have, climate controlled units as well.
That's good news.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other concerns? Entertain a motion with, make sure, so, engineer,
just limit the, approved as, presented with the change to limit the access on Shawnee to, emergency access only.
okay?
We need to direct staff or each, I don't
From a permitting standpoint, we'll deal with it at permitting.
Are you okay with that?
Yeah, no, that's fine. Like I said, I think the site plan changes will be very minimal with that condition approval, and, just to that point, we can handle that when we get into the actual construction drawings.
Second.
Okay, Councilman Franklin, Councilman Lightfoot, those in favor?
Franklin, aye.
Aye.
Great, Lightfoot, Smith,
All right, that passes 5-0. Thanks,
Thank you, guys,
Shirley.
appreciate it.
Item 23, appointments, reappointments, resignations for boards and commissions. We'll take two at one time. Resignation of Karen Stansfield, effective August 21st, off the Library Advisory Board, and appointment of Joanne Smith for a 2-year term from June 22 to June of 24 on the Parks and Rec Commission.
glad Mr. Sandals staying on the good board.
Okay. Everybody okay with that? I'll entertain a motion to approve those.
I move.
Second. Councilman Franklin, Councilman Drake. Those in favor?
Franklin, aye.
Drake, aye.
Let's,
Smith, aye.
All right, that's 5-0. All right, excellent. Now we're into departmental reports. Chief.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Well, we went from the worst drought in Texas history to one of the wettest August in about 24 hours. So we no longer have the drought, but we did have about 11 inches of rain in less than 12 hours here, so we did have a lot of areas that were flooding that don't normally flood. We did have a lot of water rescues there on August 22nd, even with the help of my guy in blue over there.
Are you gonna cue it up?
Yeah. So luckily, everybody was, nobody was injured, nobody was harmed. So we did have a lot of vehicles that, got themselves into some high water very quickly, but fortunately, nobody was injured or worse. Tomorrow, we'll be giving our physical agility test for our vacant position. Currently, we have 18 people that are gonna show up for that, so that physical agility will begin tomorrow morning. And I have an anticipated start date of them sometime at the beginning of November. Hope to have them on board by then. So I don't have anything additional as council or mayor.
We burn anything yet?
Yes, sir, we are off of the burn ban. Ellis County has lifted the burn ban, so.
That's 12.2 inches. We are.
Yes, we ought to be, right? Yes, sir.
Are we still under city restriction?
Water, what?
Water restrictions?
Yes.
We are, however, we've been discussing, we haven't repealed it yet, but, we're close to doing that, our usage around.
Okay. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you, sir.
One shift, Chief, to another waddle swimmer chief.
I don't have any of those cool swim pajamas like the fire department has there. Just a couple of, real quick notes, Mayor and Council. We currently have 65 applications on file with us for our vacant positions. We have 60 non-sworn and 5 certified non-lateral, meaning that they have certifications, but they don't meet the lateral transfer requirements for the department that we're currently processing. We have 4 applicants that are currently a little deeper into the process. We're hoping to kind of finish out that process with them and see if we're going to be able to bring any of them on board by the end of this month. I also wanted to bring to your attention a recent case that we had. We, through a citizen's observance, we responded to a call for service in the Harmony Edition that resulted in the recovery of about 637 catalytic converters off of a consensual encounter at a residence. Officers were in the area based on the tip from the citizen. They observed the catalytic converters from the roadway. We engaged in a consensual encounter with the homeowner. We got the auto theft task force involved, and that's currently still an ongoing investigation, but it was a significant recovery of stolen catalytic converters and what ultimately is going to be deemed as a fencing operation for those motor vehicle parts. We're also collaborating with some federal agencies on that. It resulted in the seizure of some large sums of money and a couple of vehicles that were being used to transport those catalytic converters. All in all, that operation took roughly 18 hours to execute with all of the search warrants that we obtained, and were able to recover all of those catalytic converters and make a pretty solid case that we think is probably going to spill over into an ongoing investigation to the places where those things were being fenced at. So that was a pretty good pop for us, for a little municipal police department to make that kind of an impact based off of a citizen observing what they believe to be illegal activity, and us doing a pretty prompt follow-up
to it. So I'll kind of keep the council and the city management apprised of where that's going as that investigation continues. And as always, I'll answer any questions you have about the monthly report.
Do we have a murder in the city there?
No, sir.
Okay.
There was one that occurred just outside of the city based off of domestic disturbance. Did not occur inside the city limits of Red Oak. It was just outside of our city in the county. County worked that whole thing, and we ended up assisting a trooper who stopped the suspect leaving the scene of the offense in town, and she was detained without incident as a result of that. But it was a domestic disturbance that kind of went bad, and it got reported as it happening here, but it did not happen in the city limits.
Question for you and Ben. We're assuming you said 65 applicants, all since the pay raise?
There were a couple that were in the process prior to that, but most of those applications came once we posted the new pay scale.
So immediate effect there. And the 18 there? Yes, sir. As soon as you announce it? Mm-hmm. We won it. Good point. Great point.
Heard you made a little hot water rescue also.
I waited out about thigh deep, not a big deal. So.
Here, hold this for me. I did get a good video, if anybody wants to see it.
What I will say is, it had the potential of being very bad given the water and how fast it was moving, and once we got her out of her vehicle just narrowly missed going down in Red Oak Creek. So I think there was some potential there for it to be worse than what it was, but like I said, if I had some of those cool swim pajamas that the Swiftwater Rescue guys had, it would have been a little cooler, but.
Still warmer.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir. Ms. Beasley.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. A few highlights from this month's report. On August 5th, we partnered with HR to host an employee appreciation event. Staff was treated to root beer floats, were able to network with other departments, and got a short reprieve from the heat we were having in August. We will be doing more of these type of events in the upcoming budget year. We are putting together an employee appreciation committee, so an internal group of employees that are going to help us kind of come up with these ideas, things that we can do, and myself and HR will be working close together on that. On August 27th, we partnered with the Chamber to host their annual Founders Day event. We shared marketing materials, participated in the parade, assisted with road closures, provided on-site public safety, parks, and tourism personnel. I did meet with Clint last week, and we have already started talking about 2023, what dates, times, and what other things that may be coming then. So I'm sure they'll be announcing that when they have that finalized. But we are working close together. I know you guys mentioned that earlier. That is a relationship we are building, and we are working together on a lot of the stuff they've got coming up. And then finally, I wanted to remind you, October 22nd is our fall festival here at the Municipal Center and Pearson Park. So we hope you guys can come out for that. I will remind you again at the next meeting before the event, as well as send a reminder prior to the event via email. So I will take any questions anybody else has.
You mentioned something of a new website rolled out or revision.
Yes, I did.
How's it?
So it's going good. I have met with our provider, is Civic Plus. I've met with Civic twice now. They provided so far a layout. I don't want to show it because it's hard to understand. It is just a placement, a vision board, so to speak, of where stuff could go. And so it's not pretty. So I don't really want to bring that before you until I have some more. We're also reworking on a couple things that we wanted to move around. So that total is a 3 to 6 month process. We're looking to roll that out the first of next year. So I don't have much to bring forward to you right now, but we are working and meeting on that consistently.
Thank you. Mr. Hartman.
Mayor and Council, just wanted to point out a couple things. B&B Theaters, drove out there today and they're putting up silt fence, so it looks like they're getting ready to break some ground out there, so hopefully, once they get started, it's as fast as Compass Data Centers. We, went out to, Compass had on last Friday, they call it a topping out ceremony, where they had lunch for the city, but all their guys as well. They're moving along and, they kind of gave some kudos to the city, so that's, goes to y'all as well. Did want to remind y'all that this month we've got the, special meeting for the comp plan adoption. That'll be on the 26th of September. It'll be joined with P&Z and, council. We did talk to Bob about, having Bob do some kind of informational, almost like a class for the P&Z, to kind of get them up to speed on a lot of the, just the legal things that they're doing and what they're supposed to be doing, as representatives of the council. So we're gonna try and get that scheduled with him and the commission members. So we're working on that, but if you have anything else, please let me know.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Platt.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. A couple of things to highlight from the report. We do have our sales tax collections that we've received this month in September. And of course, these are 2 months in arrears, so that's July revenue, but we are up 13% over our overall fiscal year to date revenues in last fiscal year. Also, the end of this month, September 27th, we're closing on the Series 2022 tax notes that you approved at the last special council meeting, which will be funding capital items in next year's budget. So we have 1 month left in our fiscal year. And so finance is working pretty hard on closing out the year and then also on setting up our new fiscal year. That's really all I have, but I'll be happy to take any questions you may have.
Ben, housing permits are, how they're
Slowing down a little, because of the, interest rate hikes, but I think, they were so far behind in materials and stuff. We've got hundreds of houses that are in various stages of construction, a lot where they were framed up and literally had to sit for months because they couldn't get brick. But we've got a lot of houses on the ground, that are ready to be filled with people. People are waiting on them so they can fill them up.
Great. Good. Ms. Monsiváis.
Mayor and Council, I'll just kind of piggyback off of the other directors and chiefs on recruitment. We have continued our recruitment processes for our police and fire. And right now we have about 6 current job postings out there right now, and we are working on getting the newly approved positions for the next fiscal year already out on the website. So you'll see that come up within the next week or so. We had open enrollment this month. We ran it for about 2 weeks, so employees had the opportunity to go in and make changes. I like to commend all of our city employees. Everyone completed that in the specified timeline, so we're good to go on our insurance for the next fiscal year. We also partnered with Communications and Marketing on the Root Beer Float Day. And we hope to be able to bring those ideas from the other departments throughout the next fiscal year and kick off that program here on October 1st. So that's all I have, unless you have any questions for me.
Do you usually show recruiters for each position, or do you leave them all up to just posting?
We post out on TML and pick it up on Indeed and a lot of the different association postings. I will say we are struggling a little bit on the maintenance side. We're not seeing a lot of applications come through on that, so hopefully we can reach out to other the need for that, I mean.
I wouldn't share some positions are easier than others to recruit more, so it makes sense.
It is across the board. I meet with other HR directors and departments in the state, and it's a struggle to fill those positions, the trade positions, specialized positions.
Should have just said, indeed, we do.
That would have been a good fun.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Mr. Benford.
Mayor and Council, just on a couple little things. Still working over at, right up at the Government Center. I keep wanting to call it Live Oak, now it's Government Center. We installed over 3,000 feet of cable just for the Emergency Operations Center and the training room. So that's just a little bit that we installed. So there's quite a bit of cable in that building that we put in. Also, we've installed a new server for the police department for their evidence for the detectives, and we finally received all of our audio and video equipment. It's been back ordered for about 6-7 months for the council room, the EOC, and the training room. So start installing that once they're ready for us. Busy. And then that's just the normal desktop builds and set up login builds for the new Assistant Finance Director, and we did start our telecommunications. We're doing a telecommunications billing audit with a company called Spyglass. We did it about 4 years ago, and it's time to do that again. So they're going through all of our billing through our providers and just making sure we're getting the best deals we can. So, unless you got questions.
Very good, sir. Thank you. Mr. Ragsdale.
Mayor and Council, I just have a few things to highlight, some that are in the report, and also just as of today, the library is now fully staffed again. I had a little bit of a turnover at the end of the summer. We lost one person that I got to train, and then Wilmer took her away from us. She's now the library manager at Wilmer. And so I hired 2 new people, and so now we're fully staffed, ready to start doing more fall programs this fall. A couple other things, the year to date, we're almost in our fiscal year also, and as of September, if you look at the trend, we'll have almost doubled our statistics of circulation for the year. Of course, obviously, we were closed for those 2 years, but now we're coming back up again. Really good circulation. One of the things I'm really proud of is we have a toddler program that meets right here every Tuesday, and the numbers now are almost on the average 25 toddlers every Tuesday. And sometimes if all the families came, it's up to 30. So keeps me busy and young on Tuesday mornings. Other than that, the Friends of the Library group is the Friends of the Library. Friends of the Red Oak Public Library is the support organization for us, and they're doing some major fundraising in September, and I just wanted to spotlight a few of those. Next Monday, a week from tonight, they're having a fundraiser at Solomons Barbecue, and all the receipts, if you mention the Red Oak Public Library, the Friends of the Red Oak Public Library, all the receipts at Solomons would go, a percentage would go to the fundraising of the Friends of the Library. They're also doing North Texas Giving Day for the first time since I've been here. We organized, or I helped them organize North Texas Giving Day, and you can actually donate now. It's early donation for North Texas Giving Day, and the day is actually September 22nd. So if you go online to North Texas Giving Day and search library, Red Oak Public Library, it comes up, and you can donate to us. The last one is they have a big bingo, not bingo, bunco. They'll have a bunco night, and so if you like to play bunco or your significant others like to play bunco, then I have tickets to the library. Unless you have any other questions, that's all I had.
I have a question, Mr. Rector.
Yeah.
So you lost an employee, was it to a lateral or a promotion?
Actually, for this young lady, it would be probably a promotion for her. Here at the library, of course, our employees are not city employees. They're LS&S, the management company that manages the library for us. But at this position, she was full-time library associate 3, and over there, she's going to be library manager. And she is under the condition at Wilmer position, she's going to go and get her degree in library science, and so it is a promotion for her to go over there. Here, library assistant 3s are, I think, pretty good hourly salary, but it is a promotion for her.
Pretty good.
Yeah, it was a good deal. They Actually, the interesting thing is that I interviewed her, and my supervisor from LS&S helped me interview her. And so at the time, she knew how good she was. I hired her, and then down the road about, 4 or 5 months, she said, you know, I think Liddy would be good over in Wilmer. LS&S just got the Wilmer contract, and so she took, they stole her from us. But anyway, I'm good for Indian staff.
So she's still with LS&S?
Yes, she's still with
Transferred to
LS&S,
city.
yeah. But it's the first time that kind of happened, that I kind of helped train one of their new librarians, or she's called the library manager. But I promoted one of our staff members who are already on board, part-time. I promoted her to full-time. Great. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Kelly.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. I'd like to start off by thanking our police department. 3 times this summer, we were hit in Watkins Park heavily with graffiti, different kinds, whether it be markers, paint, that kind of stuff going on in the park. And our PD was recently able to identify a suspect that, I think he admitted to doing it. And so basically, we've been able to put that to a stop. We haven't seen that in over 30 days, and that's been a relief to my guys, because the cost associated with that is around $600 every time that we get hit, plus the production time that we lose by going out, and our other stuff just basically has to cease because the graffiti itself, it seems to grow if you don't take care of it immediately, and some of it carries a little vulgarity with it. We want to get rid of that immediately. So would like to thank you, Chief, and your team for taking care of that. A couple other things we have going on right now. All the sports are kicking off. This weekend will be a busy weekend for all 3 of our major sports here in town. The playground, the new playground over next to the Government Center at Watkins, and baseball softball complex is just about finished. We're about 99% done. Once they finish later this week, they'll have the safety inspector come out and give us the green light. We've got to get the certification from them, and then we'll be able to select a date in which we can open that playground. Next Tuesday, September the 20th, I'd like to invite you out to the multi-use field, football field essentially. The American Underdog is a movie. That's Kurt Warner's story. We're going to be showing that movie out there at the football field. So if you'd like to come by for a little bit and say hi to everybody, you don't have to stay the whole time, but we anticipate the movie will start around 7:15, which is about dark, so that way we'll have that. The second movie we'll be doing this fall is Tuesday, October the 18th, 6:45, Incredibles 2. That's going to be at Watkins Park, over next to fairly close to the gazebo. And then our final movie will be December the 9th. It'll be the Polar Express, same location in Watkins Park. We'll be working with our public library. We team up with them on these type of events, and they help support us, and then they also get the word out about the library, so we kind of team up for that.
I saw the placards out there at the park. They look good. All the people, the park will see them, anywhere else in the city.
Sir?
The placards.
That's the only place we have them right now. I'm trying to find a central location.
People that go to the park, they're all going to see it.
Yeah, it's a great place. I'm just trying to find some central location where we do that kind of thing. We're hopefully going to, in the future, we'll have some electronic signs that'll take care of that, and we won't necessarily have to put semi-real estate looking signs out, but it does get the word out. I get a lot of feedback, and we're getting a few phone calls at the office, people asking questions.
I mean, I know they're real noticeable, so that's what they work. They work on me.
Cool, I'm glad to hear that. Any questions?
Okay, you got about $50,000 you're gonna put lights and things over at Hargrove.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And matter of fact, I'll give you an update real quick. The basketball court will be poured this week. I think when we discussed earlier, it takes about a 30-day cure time where they can put the stripes down on it. So that by Friday, they should have it poured, if not sooner.
Which one?
The one over at Hargrove,
Okay.
the full court. But once that's in, we'll immediately come in and put the bollards in so people cannot drive on it, so we don't risk cracking that slab.
You got cameras in that system?
Over there, yes, sir. There'll be 4 cameras going in a 360 direction. They'll be feeding back to I guess basically we're gonna set up a central location for a feedback over there in which we can pull the data from in case we need to look at the cameras. You're welcome.
sure the chief tells the story of graffiti artists next time, because, that should overshadow catalytic converter.
Well, he said the catalytic converter, I was like, dang it, man, I don't get to say something too nice. So, yeah, they're pretty active, but, like I said, I've never been anywhere where they actually caught the person that was doing it or admitted to doing it, and although he was still a suspect, it's still, he's admitted it, and we haven't seen the activity since then, so, a great catch.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Williams.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. I just want to add to my report, update on where we are with the street initiatives, resurfacing and pavement, both with the county and with Intermountain Slurry Seal that's going to do the microsurfacing slurry seal applications. So Intermountain they're still scheduled to do their process in October. I don't have an exact date, but it's and we're still working on how to make ready things that we need to do. We're doing internally on the roads, like we've completed Bachelor and completed like Lawrence, and I think they're working on the same back, but just rebuilding the shoulders, doing level ups. That way that the microsurfacing process will have the effect that it's supposed to have as far as protecting the street. So that's where we're at with the microsurfacing. So sometime in October, the next meeting, they'll either have started off, I will know the definitive date at that point. And then kind of a setback on the work, at this point, a setback on what we anticipated with the county. Precinct 4 was going to do a significant amount of work in the Beckley Pikes area. So, 6 streets out there, and I received word today that they are, initially they were thinking they were going to start the end of August, 1st of September, and today I got word that they're looking at probably not being able to do that. They've had a lot of equipment failures, breakdowns, and then the amount of rain that they had has really set them back with their ongoing projects now. So just collectively, they're looking like we're missing us for the season as far as how they look at it. But they want to do it in February, March.
That's too cold?
It's not too cold for that process. Yeah, it's not too cold for that process.
The rain, normal, reasonable.
Yeah, that's one of the issues now is that they want to skip the rainy season at this point. When I say it's kind of a seasonal thing, and even still, that's hard to predict, the weather. But however, we're going to look at alternatively, look at Texas Bit and also Reynolds Asphalt. So Texas Bit's an asphalt company, and Reynolds is an asphalt company, and so and we're going to reach out to them, make contact with them, and see, because the county just does the make ready part. So they go in, they turn up the road, they make it ready, and then the Texas Bit or Reynolds comes in and actually does the asphalt overlay. But they can do both, and they did both, and like for Stainback, for example. So we would anticipate that it would be more expensive, but so that's what we need to find out is what, how much more expensive it would be based on those 6 roads that what that cost would look like per square yard, and then see if that justifies moving forward with them first, based on the cost and not waiting, basically 6 months from now. It's just something that we really need to get done as quickly as we can. And I'll be updating Todd as far as what we find out, and I'm sure pass it on to council.
What's your schedule on Rugged look like?
Rugged is still scheduled for, this coming year, right? Yeah, so this coming year.
And that's kind of part of the story too. So these roads in Meckley Packers would slide to February, March. But when they did those, they would go ahead and do next year's roads at the same time.
Right.
Assuming we go that route.
Yeah. So that would be the silver lining to it, if there is one, that, we not only get this year's, but we get next year's done all at the same time. So, however, for Rugged, that's precinct 1, so, that's Stinson, not Cobb Butler for precinct 1.
This year, right?
Well, it's just.
For this coming year.
Yeah, for this coming year, so.
Yeah. Thanks, guys.
And that's all I have. Oh, well, I do have one more thing. Alexa had mentioned the Fall Festival, October 22nd. Also, the trash off is October 22nd as well. It's just 7:30 to 10:30 in the morning, so it won't have an impact, but just want to let council know that that's when we'll be having the trash off.
Hank, y'all take Hank?
If it's dry with kitty litter.
Pardon?
Dry with kitty litter.
Dry?
Dry, and you can fill it with kitty litter.
You can add, like kitty litter, sand or
Okay.
something, or it can be dry, if it's dry. That's the primary thing, just dry or somehow absorbed, so.
Depending on your lumber, you can cut off your trees.
That's your cat house with it.
Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you.
Mr. Phillips.
Don't have him cutting more trees down.
Okay. Or crawl up in. That's what falls, lives though.
Mayor and Council, just a quick update on the building and then kind of a heads up on something that may be coming to you. They're still moving along at a pretty good clip on the building. Lots of drywall going up, lots of light fixtures going in the ceilings now. So the electricians are basically, they've done all their rough in, so they're now going back and putting in the light fixtures in the hallways and in the rooms. Again, starting from the court area, working their way across the building. One major event that happened last week was the main corridor, which EDC helped to contribute to, was completely drywalled in on the ceiling and in the walls and everything, so you get to see that kind of closer to finished look. It looks really nice. Turned out very nice. So we got that going on. On the exterior, they're still working to complete the membrane on the roof, and then they installed the steel for the awnings above the windows in the library. So, and then they're going to be, should be getting in the actual canopy steel any day now. So the canopies in the front of the building should be going up. As far as the fire lane around the building, they're almost complete with that. They've made it all the way around the building. Now they're just working on the tie-ins and the old driveway there and the panel replacement on that end. And they've got a few other things to do on the drainage, and then they'll be complete with that. So we're going to coordinate that completion of the fire lane with Kyle's playground opening as well. So we don't want a bunch of construction going on in the back corner and open up a brand new playground at the same time. So we're trying to coordinate that. So now for the not so good news. With that last rain, as mentioned earlier, the 11 plus inches, we had significant leaks on another portion of the building that was not addressed with the membrane. So I'm working with Karen. We filed a claim today with our insurance company. So the back portion of the gym along that, it drops down where the locker rooms are that wrap around the back portion of the gym. That's all a tar and gravel roof. And so the failure is on that portion of the roof. So the current roofers who are on the project went ahead and gave us a couple of quotes to do some either repairs and a new membrane on top of that. So basically, we would put, they'd put cover board on top of the tar and gravel and then put a new membrane down. And, their recommendation is, you know, that's gonna last a lot longer, a lot less maintenance than a tar and gravel roof. So, we're gonna work through our insurance company to see what kind of, claim we can end up to help pay for that, but, I will more than likely be coming back with some sort of a change order to, fix or replace that roof on that portion of the building.
If you are any unemployed city councilman stumbling around the project,
I'd be happy, the invitation's always open, be happy to walk you around, I don't necessarily have to be there either, I can coordinate it for you, or anything that you need, be happy to, help you out, just let me know.
thank you.
Sure.
Make sure that this is happening now, and we're able to see it now, while we're in this phase, and to get further down the line, and have it.
Well, and to further that, we actually got really lucky, because on that day, we had our owners meeting. So we were there on site, and we were all there to witness the rain coming in the building, along that, it's literally from the middle of the building, the edge of the gym wall on that back side, all the way across, and then all the way back. So it's that full roof. You can see there's actually been damage to the gym floor in the back as well, so.
What was the quote that the contractor gave?
The repair quote was roughly $15,000. Their concern with the repair is that we basically be chasing water, so they can see what the failures are right now. They repair that, the water's gonna move somewhere else. The roof is the original tar and gravel roof, we believe. And then they said the sure fix is to put the cover board and the membrane on top, and that's $75,000. And we actually, if we choose to do that, and if that's the route we go, they actually have the membrane, from a job that didn't go. They ordered material, job canceled or something, so there wouldn't be a lead time on the membrane. They actually have the material.
Yeah, of course they do.
Well,
Hey, Chief, is that an investigation thing, looking for that membrane stuff?
No, and so we'll see with the insurance, Todd and I talked about it quite a bit today, and, both feel that, even if we can get a portion of that back from our insurance company, that's a little bit less we have to put towards the project. I'll keep you updated. If I have everything ready, I'll put it on the agenda for October. And then also, as we talked about the chamber earlier, on the October meeting, we'll have an agreement for their payment plan for the construction cost of their space. Potentially a agreement with the county as well for their portion.
Okay, any questions? All right. We are going to executive session, correct?
We are, but it won't take, can't take long.
All right, so the time is 10:07, and we will go to executive session. Do we anticipate any actions? And we don't necessarily anticipate actions.
Brothers Lee and John.
Okay? Gotcha. Still marking up stuff.
And there's nothing there.
I want to make sure. You're out there, I'm out there, that's out there. That didn't take long, that's a pretty quick.
We get all those. You better stay for the whole thing.
Okay.
I'll look through it to make sure about it.
So, how are you? Get out of here, you said.
There's a potential problem on the 24th, Look, it's been hard because they're having a combined, P&C and all that, you have your park board meeting. So we're gonna have to set up those meetings.
Probably, Risk, like Jordan and I, computers, I think I can say that.
They have officially said that's a problem, how that come out of that yet, so you gotta wait till the last minute, and then we're just gonna have a problem. Yeah. I'm planning for a disaster, but what that means is the Parks Board will just use our regular logins, we already have Parks Board meetings set up too. That was like a special meeting, so I'll just make up a whole new meeting using the Zoom login instead of the J Venture login.
I'm guessing the Parks Board doesn't need to be strict.
Be like the YouTube. Doesn't have to be streamed that night, just do the Zoom. The next day I'll throw it up on YouTube, that way we're not both running the YouTube at the same time.
I just found that Parks Board tomorrow.
Yeah. It will. Yeah, for this public needs to be able to be on it, we'll see it and all that. We'll verify.
Hey, are you gonna move us?
You already are?
We're not live?
You should be already in there.
Okay.
You should. Apparently they didn't join it yet. They haven't joined yet, they're still on mute, so unmute them and join the They're in. That, as soon as you went out the door, they joined the meeting.
Yeah,
I guess.
turning away. They must be okay.
Just need to make sure they're not broadcasting on YouTube.
I'm just gonna go over.
Uh-oh, somebody is. They've got their phone on. Don't make sure somebody's talking. Oh, wait, never mind. Yeah, so there is just behind. Oh, I just heard Jonathan's voice. Wow, it's way behind. I haven't seen Susan that far behind. Or YouTube that far behind ever. Usually it's like 30, 40 seconds. You turn that mic off, probably. Yeah, we can put it in. Just keep. Probably put up the HDMI cable too. Thank you.
Yep.
I always put new batteries in it. Sometimes, even if Olivia tells you she just put them in this morning, I text But I've had to go dead in a meeting before, that's fine, it's just broke. See, it's broke.
Yeah, but
It's gonna break worse. Just go put the mic up, you know, like.
I'm just,
I'm killing time right
Oh, I see,
Yeah.
I see. Now, we can't unplug the phone yet, so. You may not be able to pull that up without untaping the cord. You can just unplug it later on the floor if you want.
That's the truth, yeah.
There you go, good enough. You take that, you can take the projector and,
Yeah, I can hear.
you can get the projector controller.
Oh, okay.
you want me to take the trash out, or you want to leave it for us?
No, although, does he, yeah, as long as we shove it out in the hallway, we'll take it.
Well, I put it next to the door, I put the one there next to the door, and I'll put this one next to the door.
On the outside,
No,
he won't come in here. I don't think he doesn't do anything in here.
no, I put it out here.
Oh, perfect, yeah.
The time is 10:41, and we will reconvene into open session. There is no action items that need to be taken. So at 10:42, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Second, Councilman Goodwin, second by Councilman Smith. Those in favor? Franklin, aye. Aye. Frank, aye.
That's what I.
Smith, aye. 10:40.